And we're live. It's all happening. Hurrah. Mixed at the controls. Just trying to work a few things out. As always. Brilliant. But yeah, apparently we're on. So hey everyone, welcome to That Pedal Show VCQ Live. Yes, our weekly catch up with everyone. How is everyone? Where is everyone? Mark Sieber. Hi all from Oregon. Good friends in Oregon. Dino, Guitar Guy Project says hello from Boiling, Bournemouth. Have you seen the pictures of everyone at the beach?
I haven't.
Okay.
Where are we with that? Is that now irresponsible?
Not today, apparently not so.
Okay, so it's okay today.
I think so.
Are we unlocked today then?
We are.
Awesome. You can lick people in the streets, everyone. Don't do that. Hello, sorry we're late. You know that thing where it's all working and then it stops working? Everyone thinks it's my fault because I fuss too much, but...
No, it is. Every week there's something going on.
I don't know what to say to Mr. Google to make it work. You get to the point you go, hit live, and then it logs you out. It's like, okay. Anyway, hello. We're glad to be here among you. Thank you to BV for moderating. As always, thank you, BV.
Legend.
Duncan Plexicurve, we said hello to him. David Rustad. Sonoma County. Jacob Bartelt, we'll say hello to you in a sec, Jacob, because you're chatting.
Prog Doggy.
Yeah, Matthew Hackett. Adam 850. Adam D. from Albuquerque.
Gordon Rankin, hello from Cincinnati. G'day,
hello,
mate.
Gordon. Thank you for
awesome,
the package, Gordon.
Yes.
Very, very kind of you, as always.
It's going to be fun.
Oh no, Jacob's asked the question I hope no one was going to ask.
I saw that.
Hello from Nova Scotia. Says K Cole 4001. I guess that's a Rickenbacker reference. Very nice. Who else have we got on tonight? Barry Thomas. Hello from Montreal.
Dot. Greetings from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yeah.
Not Nevada.
Kieran Jones says it's that Telecaster Stratocaster show. Oh, come on. We played the odd Gibson all five.
Indeed.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. Drizzly Fort Worth. Well, I guess that's a reversal of normality, isn't it?
Indeed. Devon Doherty says, cool shirts.
Thanks. Well, the good news is you can buy them from that Pedal Show store. We've called them the Cali Strip shirt.
You must have seen the Instagram clip.
I hope if you haven't seen the Instagram clip, yeah.
It was very funny.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Yeah. Spielberg said, I have no words for this. Didn't he? That's what he actually said.
He did.
I just have no words. I think he was creatively tidal waved, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
Like, I got nothing.
Quentin Tarantino said,
Yeah.
dude, get off my car. David Tompkins says, Mick, your efforts regarding thumbnails does not go unappreciated.
Oh, thanks. That was a bit of green screen and GCSE Photoshop.
Now that we know how to do it.
No, now that we've got a green screen, we've always known how to do it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Expect some awesomeness. Andy K, greetings from Newcastle. Definitely not a Germanium fuzz day today. No.
Yeah.
Tell you what, when it's hot in the tune, you know things are going all right.
Justin Zamira says, hello from Pittsburgh.
There's a good joke about that, which is no longer tellable
Right.
in today's world.
Herschel T says, finally, hello from South Mississippi.
Herschel. Nice. Fat Panda Cat. I thought it was Fiat Panda Cat, but it's actually Fat Panda Cat 1979. He says, how soon is now? That's either a Smiths reference or it's because we were late.
Okay.
Yeah.
We listened to that. My daughter has become a big Smiths fan.
Oh, God.
And we put that on in the car the other day. And she keeps asking when Johnny Marr is coming on the show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would be great to have Johnny on.
It would be great.
Yeah. Really, really cool.
Yeah, just do one of those. Say,
I don't want to ask him.
Well, he's not going to call and say, hey, guys, can I come on the show?
It is unlikely. That much is true, Dan. Anyway, we hope you're all doing okay wherever you are in the world. We're having unusually good weather here in the UK, so just, you know, it's really nothing to brag about because we don't get a lot of it. So be glad for us that there's a little bit of sunshine.
Yep.
And very nice it is.
George says, "G'day from Sydney. Hello, George, and hope you're doing okay. Hope all my friends and family in Sydney and in Australia are doing great. Lockdown's happening over there.
Is it?
Currently, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? You sort of sit in your own little corner of the world and everything's great, and then they had those terrible floods in Germany this week.
Oh, man.
Really awful. Fires, places overheating. So wherever you are in the world, we hope you're doing okay and managing. And life is, bearable.
Yeah.
Let's get into the questions, shall we, Daniel?
Indeed.
For those of you who don't know, if you're new, we do this every Monday and we just take questions. We do a super chat thing, consider it a gig, maybe even a tip jar.
Oh.
And it helps keep the lights on.
Indeed.
And buys us gold bars. But apart from that... First question this week comes from Sub Rosa. Hello, Sub. He says, what are your thoughts on vintage Fender nut width at 1.65 inches, which I think is 1 5/8 maybe, versus later 1.6875 inches? Can you feel the difference? Does it matter as much as you versus the radius?
Very interesting question.
4 vintage Fender nut widths, A, B, C, and D. 1.5, 1 5/8, 1 11/16, and 1 3/4.
Right.
The most common one was B, I believe.
1 5/8.
1 5/8, yeah. And then I think they moved later to 1 11/16.
So that's the nut width. That's not the
Not the shape,
not
just
the, shape,
actual
the
width.
spacing
across the nut.
between the width and nut. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And sorry, that's all in inches. I don't know it in millimetres. Have you any experience of that, Dan?
It does make a difference. Everything makes a difference.
Do you have a preference?
No. I'll pick up a guitar and go, yep, this works, or no, this doesn't.
Yeah.
But the vintage ones always seem right to me.
I don't like the skinny ones. 1
Yeah.
1.5 is just too skinny, and I think I had a 60 Strat with that for a minute there on loan, and that was just too skinny for me.
Right.
The standard B width is totally fine. Actually, I quite like on other guitars. I like the nut a bit wider, and especially on acoustics, I like 1 3/4 on acoustic.
Right.
Anything smaller than that on an acoustic, and I can't.
The Schwang Dango.
Do me James Taylor.
Right.
So yeah, I think probably once you. So you mentioned the radius there. Once you couple that the width across the nut. Sorry if we're not being very clear here. What we're talking about is oh yeah, could be a white scratch plate. What we're talking about is that width across there. So the actual width of the nut, not the depth.
Right.
But when you put the width of the nut with the profile of the neck, to be honest, fingerboard radius down here, I mean, you feel it a bit.
But not like up the dusty end.
Well, I seem to feel it. I don't know, actually, for chording it's really nice. I suppose if you were to get a classical guitar,
It's dead flat.
they actually feel
Scoopy.
concave, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's such a tough one, neck shape. Some people get really twisted about it, and my only ever complaint is this is too small.
Right.
They can get as big as you like, and I'm happy.
Okay.
But small,
Yeah.
I can't deal with that.
Right. I remember playing a really old Fender jazz bass, and it had the thinnest nut, but it felt awesome because there's no
Yeah.
4 strings. I don't know.
Could have been a custom order for somebody with small hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Jeremy Beadle jokes not required there. Duncan Plexico. No. Jacob Bartelt. He says, hello, Jacob. He says, I've got a couple of cues. How does the Princeton compare to the Blues Junior and the AC-15? What are both of your humbucker style guitars' favourite ones?
Okay. The Blues Junior is a 10-inch speaker as well, is it? It was 12. Right, so there you go. That's the first difference. The AC-15 and the Blues Junior, both 12-inch speakers, and the Princeton is at 10. Loads of people actually commented on the video that their favourite amp is the Princeton with the 12-inch speaker.
Yeah.
Which is apparently a really common thing. I'm really feeling the 10, I got to say.
You like it, yeah. I want to put one of those golds in there and see.
Yeah.
It might just be too much for it.
It'd be very interesting.
Because the part of the somebody said in one of the comments, there's no way the speaker is breaking up. It can't. And I'm like, dude, it is. I promise you it is. He's like, no, it's all the transformer. It's like, no, it's not all the transformer. It is some of the transformer. I guess you could get Princeton E sounds out of both of those amps. But the Princeton just has this unique thing, doesn't it? It's a very... I mean, I don't know whether it's what the biasing situation is. A fixed bias, presumably.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Negative feedback?
We'll have some.
Some.
I don't know. I have to see the circuit.
It just sounds so immediate and open and big, which is something the Blues Junior pretty much never sounds.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Blues Junior is a great album, loads of people buy them and they're extremely popular for good reason, but it is a different thing. It is a different thing.
Yeah, totally.
And secondly, favourite humbucker style guitars, ES335, Gibson Les Paul. Am I too?
Yeah, Les Paul, really loving my long bottom with wide range humbuckers in it. And what else is there? Oh, the Gretsch Magic thing.
Yeah.
I'd probably actually take that to gigs over the Les Paul, I think.
Yeah, more your thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of the top end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough when you ask questions like that because for both Dan and I, you've got the whole canon of all fantastic classic guitar designs. So that includes, not that we own them all, but all the classic Gibsons.
Yeah.
Including V's and SGs. And then Gretches, and then sort of everything else, isn't it? I think. Just because those are the guitars that made rock and roll, really.
Would you be... I had someone ask a question about a Super Strat. And I thought, it'd be interesting looking at that. Because, when does a Strat not become a Strat?
It's all good, isn't it? I mean... It's not my thing because if I want that, I'll choose a different guitar
with that voicing.
Yeah, Fender have actually sent one of the new American Pro ones because I want to do a video on the bridge. After the Strat show, loads of people asked, could we explain about the bridge and how to set it up and everything? So I said yes, but in order to do that, we really need to talk about the 2.1 as well.
Yeah. And
that's an interesting guitar because that's everything I don't like about Strats. 2-point bridge. I think it's got noiseless pickups, or certainly very modern pickups. Flatter fingerboard radius, not nitro finish. But I guarantee, get that guitar out, plug it in, it will sound great, and I'll really like it. So we can get, hung up on these things, can't we?
Yeah, a little bit.
Duncan Plexico, hi Duncan. He says, hi D&M. I'm choosing between a desert island amp. Do you go with the Princeton, or the 2-Rock and the Matchless? Or 1 amp, no audience, and a crap load of pedals?
I haven't tried the Princeton and the Matchless together yet, but it's a combination I'm very much looking forward to.
No, he's saying you're going to a desert island, you can take the Princeton or the Matchless.
Oh, okay. Heavens. Matchless every day of the week.
Yeah, 2-Rock every day of the week. It's so interesting, and no doubt this will come up during the discussion today. Recorded, the Princeton and the Deluxe just sound fantastic. They are so easy to record because they seem to exist at a volume level that the room can take, that isn't painful to play.
Yeah.
The breakup is it's so lovely. It's such a fantastic sound. And despite the fact that lots of players do gig them and get on fine with that, good PAs, great monitoring and all of that, and loads of people do that successfully. I cannot, if the bass string doesn't stay together
Sure.
When you hit that low E, it's not for me.
Sure.
But it is for thousands and thousands of really awesome musicians.
Yeah.
So it's not, that's actually one thing I was thinking was, to a greater or lesser extent, we all play roughly at the same volume.
Okay, that's interesting.
Kit,
Yeah.
bass amp.
Right.
There is a volume range in which an electric guitar is going to sit with that. Now, you might go and see Robin Ford, and literally he rests his plectrum on the string and it drowns everybody out.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Or Matt Schofield, really loud, or Doyle Bramall, crazy, insane loud. And you might go and see someone who uses a Helix Direct with in-ears and you can't hear them at all. But most of us who play in bar bands and function bands, there is a range of volume there
Right.
over which it is permissible to play.
Sure.
And whether you use a Princeton or a Blues Junior or a 100-watt 2-rock.
Okay, that's interesting.
So it's not
Yeah.
about volume, really. It's about dynamic response and tone, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Because the peaks are all going to be broadly not a million miles from one another.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. Like I said, stick the 2-rocks through an EV,
And it's going to hurt.
turn it up, play a wedding gig. Yeah, that's a whole different... That nobody plays at that level anymore. Well, very few people play at that level anymore. So, of course, there are the extremes, but most of us play around a similar volume, I think. And I genuinely think that doesn't matter whether you're using a 12-watt Princeton
Cranked.
or
Yeah.
whatever. So it's about texture. Sorry, rather laboured point. Yeah, I would choose the 2-rock every day of the week, next week, the week after, and all the weeks in the future ever.
I hear you. Yep. No, I feel the same with the Matchless. Matchless just gives me everything I ever want all at once.
I would also say that some of the recordings we've made with the 2-rock and the Matchless aren't as nice as the recordings we made with the Deluxe and the Princeton. They really do record. And I think certainly as and when it comes time to do some recording, I will totally use those amps to record with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Nice. Right, let's have a little refresh on here.
It was really interesting. So this is Joe Vickery says, "Hi from Utah. Thanks for the great shows. I love my Deluxe Reverb reissue, but I'm not wanting a Princeton after last week's show." And there are loads of people who said that Princeton is the best amplifier I've ever heard, and loads of people said, "Nah, not for me." And it was so fascinating because everyone had, what some people really connected with it, and others just really didn't.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
The story of guitar sound right there, isn't
there
it?
you go.
There, it's right there. I think it's a really useful step on the road to being okay, that, because you're like, yeah, some people don't like it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry, I'm just scrolling back through. We got a lot of questions tonight.
Noise Code said, Austin stages still get loud. Can't wait to see the TPS band live from Austin City Limits.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah. Put in a good word for us then.
Yeah. I'm glad that there are still the loud stages out there. I think there'll be a resurgence in loud stages, actually.
Yeah.
It'll come with all sorts of waivers at the door, disclaimers and stuff. But,
yeah.
I strongly, strongly believe that you don't feel a band unless you feel it in an analogue manner.
Yeah. You got to experience it. Yeah, definitely.
Jacob Bartelt, here's a question I didn't want then. Mick, what are your thoughts on Sob Rock, John Mayer's new record? Also, how are you enjoying your new telly? Been loving what you all have been putting out. Stay rad. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, me and Dan really like the telly. In fact, the telly show is coming this Friday. We didn't really have an agenda, just plugged all the tellies in. We ended up with 11 Telecasters and T-shaped objects and just had a general plink about it, didn't we?
Yeah. It was very different to the Strat show. Didn't have the same questions. I certainly didn't have the same questions I had with the Strat.
Well, we had a couple of moments where we're like, well, what should we talk about now then?
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's a telly.
It's a really simple...
Plug it in, play rock and roll.
Yeah.
Because I suppose a lot of those questions like, what about the Nashville telly? What about four-way switches? What about 6 saddles instead of 3? I mean, they're just not questions that we'd be massively interested in.
No.
So maybe we're the worst people on the planet to make that video.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, Sob Rock. So for those of you who may not be aware, I wouldn't say I'm a giant John Mayer fan, because I don't know everything about him. I have met him a couple of times and interviewed him. But I love him artistically.
Right.
I think he is a monster songwriter, musician, guitar player. I think he's one of the few people in modern times who've got the talent, the position,
Okay.
the resources,
Right.
and the ego
To make it all work.
to paradigm shift
Right. Amazing.
rock music.
Yeah.
And whenever the new Mayer album comes out, I always give it about 10 listens. Search for Everything took me about 3.
Okay.
Because when you stick on Still Feel Like Your Man, and he's like, the line about leaving shampoo in the shower, guess you want to wash your hair. And I'm like, no!
I remember you told me that lyric the day before we went into... No, we were flying back from the States and we were going to go and record at Real World.
Yes, yes.
And you were like, oh, man, look. And I was really struggling with lyrics. And you went, lyrics don't matter. Listen to this.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. So I just wrote down whatever.
So, yeah, and I'm confused. And I think Johnny Boy has
Thrown everyone for a loop.
thrown everyone for a loop. I've got 2 theories. One is, this is where he is artistically and he means it from the bottom of his heart,
Okay.
which is great. Because you can't criticise anybody for doing that, and nor should you ever criticise anyone for any artistic decision they make. 2, he's fallen out with his record company. He's delivered a giant pile of dog shit. And he's got that paradigm shift album that I just
In the bag.
talked about ready.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
as I said, rewind, I'm still only on my 4th listen. So when I get to 10, I'll be able to revise my dog shit analogy.
Okay.
And there may be a gleaming diamond once you get your fingers in there and wash it off.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
High pressure hoses,
Yeah.
chem suits,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Weirdly, all the songs that got released first, and this is a good example of that, I really like.
Right. Because you've heard them so much?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe,
And that's
yeah.
the way it works, isn't it? So, but I am confused. I'm confused by the marketing. I'm confused by the overtly retro nature of it, because I like music that's retro, but I also like music that nods retro but actually moves
Forward.
Anyway,
Interesting.
what John has, of course, done, being the genius that he is, because he's obviously an extremely intelligent man,
He's got everyone talking
has
about
got
it.
the whole world talking about him. So hopefully we can dive into
That's
the
very
comments
clever.
in a minute and see what you guys think of it. So apologies for that long answer.
Yeah, I got stuck on Southeastern this weekend.
Yeah.
I hadn't been listening to it. Like, that album has just... Mick's mentioned it a few times. I've heard a couple of songs from it. And so I put the whole album on and then listened to it again and then again.
Yeah.
And I just can't quite believe it.
Jason Isbell, yeah. I think
Wow.
my favourite music is definitely the music where you listen to somebody sing a song, and by listening to them singing that song, you know that they either are or have been totally broken.
Right.
And that comes out in what they sing. And then I believe them.
Yeah, right.
So I am struggling to believe, why you no love me, why you no love me. I'm struggling to believe that. But, you know, it's all art and it's all good.
Indeed.
What are people saying, Dan?
Let's see. Poo Ninja said the girls love him, so Lulu said never criticise someone else's art. What? Then what's the point? I disagree. Have at it. Criticise.
Matthew Clement says, watch John's interview with Zane Lowe. Really interesting to hear how he talks about Sob Rock. Yeah, funnily enough, I did start to watch that and ran out of time, so I would like to watch it. But I don't know. I don't know that somebody explaining something would necessarily help me like it, or help. Simon French says it's a win from a production perspective.
Yeah, yeah.
Simon, I totally agree. Some of the guitar sounds are off the scale.
Right.
But, and here's the but, it's Knopfler and it's Clapton.
From the 80s.
There is a good bit of John on there actually on one of the singles. Really lovely guitar solo. But yeah, I mean, you would hope, wouldn't you, that Mayer would put out a brilliantly produced record. I don't know who produced this one actually. Probably him, I guess.
Anina Head DJ said, Sob Rock, I tried to listen. He's so far lost me on Why You Know. Anyway, that title though, lol, horrible. And I love John Mayer too. So there you go.
The Rob Show says, I hear this name John Mayer all over my head. All over, never heard any music. Just listen to his greatest hits. It's like pop country, terribly overrated. Okay guitar player, terrible music. Yeah, I don't agree, Rob, but that's the brilliant thing about music, isn't it? That elements within it will really make you think it's awesome, and the exact same music somebody hates with a passion. And I guess if that wasn't the case, all music would be the same. And then it would be bad. Buzz Crumhunger. Oh, there's not a lot of love for John on here. He's like, are they talking about John Mayer? That out of ideas chump is just looking to sell some records. Oh, bless him.
I tell you what, though, if that's what he was looking to do, he's done an absolutely brilliant job.
Yeah, you've got to remember, I mean, the context is that I was 12 in 1986, and I remember hating it.
Right,
when I was 12, I had a denim jacket with patches on, with Status Quo and AC/DC patches on my jacket, and I was the kid that all the girls looked at and went, look at that feral being, why don't you listen to Morrissey? So it's all context, isn't it? It's all context. I love John though. I love him like a family member.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't know who I am from Toffee, but I love him, and I love...
He'd remember you.
I doubt it.
Sure, no, of course he would. You're unforgettable.
That's what you are.
All right, moving on.
I guess I just feel like... Says Tyler Hall. That's the one with a really nice guitar solo in it, actually.
Right.
Yeah, anyway, sorry. I'll be forever waiting for continuing part 2, says Matthew Clements. I do respect his desire to recreate his sound. Yeah, all great artists do that, don't they? I mean, you think... The obvious example there would be the Beatles. They turn up playing rock and roll in whenever it was, 50, whatever it was, late 50s, early 60s. By 60, when was Yellow Submarine? 65, 66, 67?
Yeah. It was 7 years of recording.
Yeah,
Beatles.
you go from...
They went from
hippie
I Want to
shake.
Hold Your Hand to Strawberry Fields and all that.
Yeah.
To, Sgt. Pepper's
Yeah.
and,
And
unbelievable.
then pop stars too, Madonna, Gaga. They do it, don't they? They kind of have to. Anyway, right. Sorry. Vibus Patil says, it would have been great if he'd got Landau and Lukather to play the solos to make it properly 80s. Last tangent, otherwise we won't answer any questions. Call up Lukather, Steve Lukather, his all credits, I think, or one of those sites which lists all the stuff they've played on, and Mike Landau, and just look at what they played on through the 80s. It is crazy, and 90s. It is
astonishing.
Utterly crazy. Anyway.
The Steve Gadd Band, been listening to that album a lot, Steve Gadd and Friends, and Mike Landau's work on that is just so beautiful, so pure, and there's a rawness to it. When I know you hear that, well, it's obviously him playing, and it's always got that, but there's something about his sensitivity with Steve on the drums and the way they work together.
Yeah.
It just kills me. Absolutely kills me.
Yeah, he is amazing. No question today. Just thank you for knitting us all together, says Seattle Phil. Well, thank you, Phil.
Cheers, bud.
That's a lovely thing to say. Aaron Albusband, my wonderful leg ends. Happiest of Bundays to you. If you could have one superpower, what would it be? I hate traffic, so mine is teleportation. Love you.
Very good. I had this conversation with my son, and it comes down to either invisibility or flight. Invisibility would be cool. But yeah, one of those two.
One of those two. I'd have a... How do I put this? I'd have an instant educator.
Oh, that's good.
So when you come up against someone who struggles to see things logically,
Okay.
I could logify them,
Yeah.
and they would no longer be mind identified.
Okay. Oh, right. Wow.
They would get in the moment, and they would exist for the community,
Right.
not themselves. That would be mine.
I love that. That's very good.
Contribution to some
I
sort
feel like mine should be a bit more selfless now, but
better
no,
planet.
I'm sticking with invisibility or flight.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, flight is the one, isn't it? Let's be honest. Prog Doggy. Greetings. Well, thanks. Now I need a Princeton. So, a keyboard player is joining us tomorrow. Any hints how I need to adjust? I've never played with a keyboard player before.
Okay.
It's great.
It's wonderful. The first thing that you'll need, that you'll feel is that you don't need to fill up so much space.
Yep.
And just relax. Try and be as sensitive as you can to what the keyboard player is doing. If the keyboard player is doing a funky clav line, or if he's doing pads or whatever, just be sensitive to what's going on there. Listen for the areas the space that he's not filling up, and maybe aim a bit in that direction. If he's doing big pads and stuff, then a rhythm thing that hooks in with the rhythm section, awesome. If he's doing funky clavinet stuff, then you fill up some of that space with pads and
Yeah. That's it, isn't it? The opportunity to work together is so fantastic.
Yeah.
Because they can... I think there's can be a lot of clashing between guitar players and keyboard players sometimes, because some of the sonic space is the same, and of course you're both playing chords sometimes. So one, it enables you not to have to play massive full chords the whole time.
Yeah, extensions and things.
And I don't know what kind of guitar player you are, but if you're anything like me, your technical knowledge of chords and structure and theory and harmony isn't that great. Chances are your keyboard players might be a little bit higher, and you can learn a lot from them if they're a really great musician, especially about extended chords and all that. And yeah, just that enabling, even though you're adding somebody to the band, the sense of space that can create, because not everyone has to play. Somebody asked me recently, what's your advice? I'm joining a band for the first time. What's your single piece of advice? And my single piece of advice was, not everyone has to be playing all the time.
Yeah.
I'm astonished when I listen to pop records, how often it's just bass, drums and vocals.
Sure. I mean, I remember back in the 90s, and Jamiroquai played in Sydney, and there were times it sounded like a 2 or a 3-piece band. There's 11 of them on stage.
Yeah, right.
And they just all knew when to leave it out,
Yeah.
when to... Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
That's cool. I hope you enjoy that.
Yeah.
And it's nice to hear people playing in bands. David Tompkins. Hi, David. He says, do you guys listen or watch the Casino Guitars chats? Don't even know what it is.
No, unfortunately.
No, don't know what that is. I guess we should look at it. Pete Lawler, no question, just thanks from a sunny Berwick upon Tweed. Thanks for the inspiration, guidance and general silliness.
Ah, thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
There was silliness today. That was fun.
The Great Dell, I'm starting off my 10-day quarantine after a month-long residency with an orchestra at the Festival de Provence.
Wow.
Guitars will keep me sane, much love. Oh, I see. So you come back from France, therefore you've got a quarantine. Enjoy.
Yeah.
I think some time alone, if you can manage to get some, is a wonderful thing.
10 days, just a guitar. That'd be amazing.
Anyway. Nice playing in an orchestra too.
Ah, wonderful.
Super Mole Moose says, I'm excited. Harmonious Monk arriving tomorrow. If the M is the mix control, does that mean the D is the dance control?
That's very good.
And S is Simons. And who are A, I, and H? Have a great show. L. Sorry. Thanks for buying one. Hope
Yeah,
you really
thank you.
like it.
Actually, I got a message from Lee and... Do you know Tonepedia?
I do, but not well enough to...
So he's done this really cool demo platform.
Yeah.
And he's just sent me a link, and he's got he put the Harmonious Monk up.
Oh, wicked.
And you can go and change the knobs and stuff and change the dials, and there are like different recorded sounds with those different... It's really, really cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. That's
That is
Tonepedia.
cool. Tonepedia.
Tonepedia.
Chris Turner says, afternoon, compadres. Afternoon, Chris. He says, Mike Campbell said the Princeton would be his desert island amp.
Oh, wow.
Does the unique Princeton breakup give you insta heartbreakers?
I'm going to say no, because there are so many different guitar tones on the Heartbreaker stuff. Princeton was definitely part of it, but Voxers as well. He used so many different amps, and they all sounded completely magical. Yeah, but a lot of the live stuff I've seen is with Voxers, and yeah.
Yeah, I always had him down as a Voxy person, but my knowledge is not good with that.
Yeah.
But very nice. Tony Moore, Friday show, your findings of settings 4 to 5 was interesting. I set my 68 custom Vibrolux to 4, then my drive pedals above Unity, so I get pedal and amp working together.
Very nice.
That's exactly how I've done it for the last 30 years.
Yeah, very nice.
Of course, the Vibrolux is a bit bigger than the Princeton as well, so you've got the headroom
Yep.
in there to really allow for that. And then Vibrolux on 4 is pretty loud from memory.
So interesting. So going back to the comment that the guys saying about, there's no way that's all speaker breakup. You look at what's going on at the preamp into the phase inverter, the power amp, transformers and speakers, and if they're all at a level that, everything's working together, and you get it at that point where everything's working, when you punch the front end, like you're saying, with the pedal above Unity, it just makes all those elements sort of work.
Yeah.
And it's just the most wonderful thing.
It's all of guitar tone, isn't it? I mean, it's literally everything anyone needs to know about guitar tone is at what point does it start to distort and compress at various bits of the circuit, and which of those bits do you like and like less? And whether you're talking about a Champ, which does it pretty quickly right across the board, or a Dumble steel string singer, which basically doesn't do it. All the shades of gain in there is whether you like or dislike playing and hearing it.
Yeah, and all valid and all awesome.
Yeah, all awesome.
Yeah.
You were laughing like you had something to read out, Daniel.
I've had a couple of things that made me laugh that I can't read out.
Oh, okay.
So far.
Fair enough. G Barge, Haley G, nice to hear from you. He says, peace, brothers. I received a Kingsley Jester with sizzle control. It's brilliant, as expected. I devoted the weekend to it. I love it, especially the EQ. But I'm undecided on placing it and its valves before or after my Cali 76. What are your thoughts?
So you need to try either way. It all depends on how you're running the Jester. So, is mine here? Right. Lovely. So there's a surprising amount of gain.
Does that have a sizzle control?
It doesn't have a sizzle control, so I'm going to have to look at that because that's very interesting. I think the sizzle control is going to be an input impedance.
Yes, because
control.
Simon's been doing so much with that recently.
Yeah. So I think with the, not the Squire, with the peasant in front of this will basically be a similar thing. Anyway, it depends. Yeah, it depends on how you're running this. Also, it depends greatly on how you're running your compressor and what you're using it for. So compressors can be fantastic solo boosts to give you a big uplift, but keep the dynamic elements under control. And it makes it, spongier and sort of easier to play at that volume. And if you're doing that, then putting it after the gesture is great. But if what you're using your compression for is really compressed, spanky, clean things, then actually having it before can work really well if you're using this as a lower gain type thing. So it all depends on how you're running this. But I mean, I've used Jester for years. I had the old big box, still got the old big box one as well. Just fantastic. Really, really fantastic pedal. I mean, obviously, we're big fans of Simon and his work, and just his guitar playing alone.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? So overt compression in the sort of, I don't know, funk or country world. Maybe start with it before. More sort of sustaining feel adding characteristic. I don't know what we would think about there. Maybe like Lowell George as an extreme example. After, but of course the great thing about the Cali 76 is it's got the mix control.
Yeah.
So you can but if you put it after, you can let a bunch of your front end of your note through without it kind of hitting the wall too quickly.
Sure.
So you can enjoy the front of the note, but then get all that lovely sustain as the compressor kicks in.
Yeah.
After. Nice.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it. I mean, I'll often use 2 compressors for those different jobs, because I love Dinah Compson, the variations of, and how it just, everything caves in. And it's such a great sound. But then, remember our first compression show, and we had, I think we used the Andy Timmons, the AT drive, and we're showing, putting the compression before and after. And it's like sort of revelatory how you can get the most amazing boost sound with it after.
It's more like a studio sort of environment then, isn't it?
Right. Yep. And the way
if you've got it after, because it almost as if it were outboard gear.
Yep. Yeah. And the way it would work with an amplifier that had enough headroom, really, really cool.
Eric K, hello Eric, he says, howdy fellas, Dan, I think it would be great to see a deep dive G3 video on saving and recalling presets on MIDI capable pedals, TRS and 5-pin, such as Chase Bliss, Strymon, etc.
Thank you. Thank you. I will do more of those videos on the Gig Rig channel. It's not really, Well, obviously we use G3 and all that stuff, and we've both got, Mick's got an Atom, and I've got the G3, and we use them on the show, and they're great. But actually, if you want to go deep dive into actually how that works, then I'll put some of those videos on the Gig Rig channel.
The annoying thing about it is that although the process is the same, the way each pedal manufacturer approaches its MIDI is different, isn't it? Seems to be.
Man, yeah. So whether they start at 0 or they start at 1.
Yeah, and then the various combinations of button presses and the learn function and how you set up expression control and all of that.
It's amazing that it's not more uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you just have to go, okay, today is lost to this.
Sure.
I repaired my barbecue at the weekend. I've been repairing my barbecue for about 6 weeks now. Almost, maybe that. And it's been raining for like a month. So
right.
It's been difficult, but you start with the one thing you think is broken and you replace that, clean it, replace it. I then got right to the end of the chain, and it was the last thing I checked. Do you know what it was? The little nozzle that shoots the gas into the burner.
No way. So it wasn't even the barbecue, it was on the nozzle.
Yeah, because I've got one of these barbecues that uses those little canister
Canisters,
things, which is great because you can take it to the beach and you can put it in the car and it's good. But converting it to use on the higher pressure gas,
right? Okay.
You require this regulator that Weber sell for 60 quid. Happy days. Then the little regulator was broke, so I thought it was that. Took it to pieces, cleaned it all out. No dice. Bought a new one, still no good. Yeah. Anyway, by way of saying, it's the blooming same when you've got a whole chain of stuff, and if you're talking about MIDI, there's like, right, is it the pedal that's the problem, or is it G3, or is it the cable, or is it the way they're talking to one another? Is it that they've printed the manual wrong, or am I just dumb? Cup of tea time. And then about 2 days later, you'll have it sorted.
Yeah, it's not. MIDI's fascinating. It's very robust. It's been around a long time. Someone is actually saying I just saw a message on the weekend. Someone says, I've done away with the outside 2 pins on my MIDI cable and everything still works. Well, it does. MIDI's done, it's a three-point connection on the MIDI cable, which is why TRS works well, which is why lots of touring guys use mic cables.
That might be the Amazon guy. I'm just going to go and check. You can keep talking about MIDI.
But if you look at, there are those conversion boxes that goes from the 5-pin DIN to TRS, and they're just taking those 3 center pins and putting them where they need to go. But it's really interesting. Sometimes the outside 2 can be used for DC connections. Sometimes you get 7-pin DIN cables where they're using the pins 6 and 7 for DC. It's interesting. Well, I think it's interesting. Jacob Noack, sorry, he just says, Dan, are you ever concerned about maintaining finger dexterity alongside Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which of course can mess with people's fingers? I've had a little bit of an injury to my thumb. It's okay. It was me being an idiot. So anyone out there that trains Jiu-Jitsu, there's a lot of grip strength things when you're holding someone, if you're going inside the lapel and then you're controlling them. So there's a lot of that going on. The most important thing, if you do an hour of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you do an hour of practice, because you've got to balance up the motor skills in your fingers. What I've found is that I've gone from a 10 to 11 string gauge because my grip strength's increased. But I haven't lost dexterity because I'm really strict about making sure that if I train that day, I'll get up early the next day and practice for the same period of time. Another thing is called resguardos technique, where if you're gripping like this, you want to also exercise the muscles in the back of your hand. So just doing this can also be really, really helpful. But yeah, I'm not concerned about it at all. I know loads of musicians who also train BJJ. You need to be really careful of your hands, of course, but no, it's fine.
Cool. I hadn't realised that.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's fascinating.
Alex Black. Hello, Alex. He says, hello, friends. You often talk about how pedals interact with the guitar's volume control. Mm-hmm. How does the guitar's tone control affect effects?
Well, it's similar. You're engaging a high-pass filter. So, all the same rules still apply, but then it becomes, frequency dependent. And how that pedal reacts with the less range of frequencies, but still with those impedance. It still has the same impedance things. It's really, really interesting. One of the things I've found about my long bottom guitar, so I put 1 meg pots in it today, just going for a little bit more clarity in the top end from the wide range humbuckers. And when you dial that tone control off, with overdrive pedals, if I turn the tone control all the way off, you get that fluty thing. But if I then knock down depending on the impedance of where it's going to, if I then take the volume control and knock that back a bit, it almost sounds synthy. And so all that relationship is still there. But you're just dealing with, different frequencies. Yeah, fascinating.
And then, of course, it varies radically from guitar to guitar, depending on what pickups, what pots, how it's wired, and all of that. But
it's all AC theory. It's all in there.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to turn Super Chat off, otherwise we won't get through them all. So anyone who's Super Chatted to this point, we will answer your question. The rest of you, Super Chat is now off. So let's see where we are. It is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, when you mess about with volume and tone controls in the context of just seeing what colour variation there is in your guitar, it is staggering. However, I think once you if you start messing around with that too much in like a set of music, a lot of those shades can be lost unless your music is built around them, of course, which is a completely different thing.
Yeah. And again, when we talk about headroom and volume, if you're playing at volume and you've got, volume is what gives you dynamic range. And if you're playing with dynamic range, and you can do that stuff, if what you're playing is mixed really slightly in the background, it's hard to get the most out of those subtle changes, But like things like playing with humbuckers and notching it back a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a revelation to me. It's amazing.
And then of course it depends on your amp too. Like if you're, I don't want to be too rude about digital modelling devices, but if you've got like a mid-gain sound on a digital modelling device, it sort of almost doesn't really matter what happens on the guitar to a point. If you've got your plexi just on the edge of hurting people,
like with the Princeton.
Yeah, half a twitch
everything.
of a knob is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's as much about volume as it is other things, but yeah, massively dependent.
Yeah.
And then when you watch somebody who is really awesome at doing it, it's quite the revelation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's incredible.
Tom Gurman says, hello from Ohio. Question to follow, but here's a vanity post to tell you that my name is not pronounced German. The G is the same as in guitar. Tom Gurman. Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
Yeah. Terrible floods in Germany this week. Jason Hogan says, hey guys, what are your thoughts on the Digitech Dodd rubberneck delay? Seems to have some great features. 1.5 seconds of analog delay, effects loop plus the rubbernecking for itself for a very reasonable price. Jason, you are one of a great many people who like the look of the rubberneck and really like the sound of it. We need to get one.
Yeah.
I don't believe we have one.
No, we don't have one. I've played one and they are great. Like longer delay times, they can be noisy.
Yeah.
But
well, it's analog, isn't it?
It's analog, but so it's part of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of analog delays, there's the new analog delay that's been brought out by Sir, which looks amazing.
Absolutely does.
We're going.
And J Rocket have just done a really nice looking one.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so
Really
we're gonna have to get them all in and have
Zach
at
at
it.
Mythos has just done a lovely analog delay too.
No.
Yeah. So
wow. Okay.
it could be time.
Okay. Wonderful. Right. That's going to happen.
So here's Tom Gurman again, and he says, Analog Man suggests swapping chips on the Prince of Tone as an option.
Okay.
But I've seen no demos on YouTube. Any chance you'd be willing to give it a try on the show?
Sure. I don't know. We'll give it a go. It's really interesting that there's been a bunch of stuff around, chips and that sort of stuff, and some people say it makes no difference. It all depends on the design. I've been looking a bit into the DS1. I'm a bit fascinated by the DS1 at the moment, having sold so many millions of them, and looking at how the op amp with the DS1 works and the hard clipping around. But the op amp is actually clipping,
yeah, right.
In conjunction with those diodes. So it all depends on the design. Some you can swap chips out, it'll make no difference, but some it makes a massive difference. The LM308 on the Rats, it does it that all makes a difference when the op amp is an integral part of the sound of it. If it's not just used for a big clean headroom generator thing. I can give it a go. I mean, that might be a vlog thing. I don't think it'd be.
I tried the changing the chips in my KOT.
Okay.
And decided that it didn't sound different enough.
Sure.
For me to care enough to carry on doing it. Because the much bigger difference was where the volume and tone controls were set.
Sure.
But
What I might do, I might grab 3 pedals, one where it makes a massive difference, one where it makes no difference, and just show them how, point out bits of the design. Yeah. It'd be fun.
Yeah, worth a
good
go.
Idea. Yeah.
Worth a go. Chris Barrett says, just a thank you for what you guys do. Appreciating
thank
you from Danbury, Connecticut. Well, thanks, Chris.
Like Danbury.
Never been there.
Yes, you have.
Have I?
Yeah, it's where Analog Man lives.
Oh, I didn't realise that was Danbury.
Yeah, totally.
I thought it was in Bethel.
Is Bethel not in Danbury? Sure,
No
it's
idea.
in Danbury. I'm sure.
No idea. Jeremiah McCann. Hello, Jeremiah. He says, I released a new song inspired by TPS fuzz tones. It's a lo-fi blues, or it is lo-fi blues by the Boutonnières. The Boutonnières. That would be Boutonnieres. So look out for the Boutonnières.
Excellent.
Nice. Nice to hear from you, Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Shane DePoo, or DePew. I think DePoo's better. He says, any suggestions for a fuzz type to try with a high gain amp, a PRS Archon, and an always-on compressor? Should it be the Keeley 4 knob?
So fuzzers can work great with high gain amps. Just turn the fuzz down, turn the gain down a bit, and you'll still get those fuzz characteristics, and that impedance relationship can be really great. You just don't need all that fuzz on there.
Get whatever Rabea uses, which I think is Buffalo Effects, isn't it?
Yeah. Important thing, if you've got some way of... Okay. Tone benders work really well with high gain amplifiers because they cut the bass. And when you're dealing with that much limiting of the amplifier, having control, having some sort of tighter bass response works really well.
Yeah.
Creepy Fingers do some really fantastic fuzzers that work great with high gain amplifiers.
Yeah.
Death by Audio as well.
Oh, yeah.
So anything that, there are some fuzz manufacturers who will specifically make fuzzers to work with high gain amplifiers. Generally, they've got really great bass control, or are voiced with that in mind. That thing. Yeah, wonderful.
In all honesty, I don't actually know what it is. It's the Eternal Youth by Jupiter Effects, and I don't know if it's an overdrive, a fuzz, or a distortion. But it's just got this awesome kind of gated-y, synthy. I think that would be great. That would be great.
Yeah,
look out for some demos of that. I plugged it in one day and just instantly loved it. But
BV sent you a missing super chat. Beatronics, yes.
Beatronics.
Dean Jackson, thank you, Dean. That's a really great shout.
Missing super chat question from Chad Blake. I haven't seen Chad Blake yet, but let's go for it. I've one pedal too many. What to do? Run one before, or my reverb is the closest thing to my always-on pedal. He's using a G3 Atom. He's got a Tomato Tone, a Timmy, Protein Monk, ARDX20, Future Factory, and Golden Reverberator. So he's got 6 loops and 7 pedals.
Okay, so you can, if your reverb is an always-on pedal, then fine, come out of output 1 into the reverb, that's great. You can get things like a remote loopy 2, which you can control from the remote switches, which will give you 2 more loops and use that as the input. A bunch of different things. You can, for example, I've got, at my latest iteration, I've got a reverb and a delay MIDI controlled in the same loop and turning them on and off via MIDI. And that works great.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different things that you can do.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm just seeing what's MIDIable on here. Tomato Tone and the Future Factory. Otherwise not.
Yeah.
What I do is I run my first overdrive stage before.
Right.
Out.
There you go.
Out. Because otherwise, if you're somewhere in the middle, you're going to have to come out of... It's too much hassle to do it in the middle.
Sure. Cool.
Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. And an always-on compressor, says Shane, Keeley 4 knob. It's as good a choice as any. It has quite a specific sound, the Keeley 4 knob.
Yeah.
Given that it's sort of evolved from that old Ross circuit.
And the Ross circuit evolved from the Dynacomp circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of
compressor thing.
Overt kind of compression.
Yeah.
If you've got some cash and you want a more studio type thing, the Cali 76 from Origin is unsurpassed.
Yeah. Very hard to beat that thing.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing.
Similarly, my favourite compressor, and one that I can use because I'm not a big compressor fan, is the Lab by these folks. Union Tube and Transistor,
Ah, that thing's amazing.
which is a bit of a sort of, it's kind of Teletronics LA2A-ish.
Yep.
Union Tube and Transistor Lab, and that is very much a sort of post-type compressor.
Yep.
Or that's how I use it anyway.
The other one worth mentioning is the Empress compressor, the new one from Empress. It is amazing. On the Fraser like Gilmore video, if you go to the end, you'll see and hear that thing. It's wonderful.
JT3483, great show, he says. I love the Princeton especially. I'd love to see a Magnatone stereo amp versus Magnatone pedal show. The Crazy Tube Circuits Killer V, Magma 57 from Origin, etc. It would be really cool to do that.
Yeah.
We need to get a Magnatone amp. For, if you don't know, the Magnatone stereo vibrato is actually vibrato.
Yeah.
It's not the same as harmonic tremolo, so it is a slightly different effect. And it's a great noise. Would be lovely to do that. We should make a contact at Magnatone, because I don't suppose we're going to buy one. I guess we could borrow one.
Yeah,
if they would send us one.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Not because we don't want to buy one, because we don't have endless money. Jeffrey Raddick. Now, Jeffrey, this is a question. He says, in a jam session in a modest room, 40 to 50 people, I know my amp is loud enough for the audience, but when the band is playing, I cannot make out the notes I'm playing. What's wrong? Where do we start, Dan?
Boy, oh boy. Okay.
Let's start with the obvious.
If
The speaker is pointing at the back of your legs.
Yep. Trouser flapping.
So get it angled up at you, or stick it on a chair.
Yeah. It's interesting how much change that makes tonally, doing all that stuff.
It will help with the next thing. You've almost certainly got too much bass dialed in.
Right.
Because if you set your sounds up at home so it all sounds big and nice, if there's one thing, when I go and watch bands play, you know, wedding bands or jam nights and that, always too much bass, always too much bass, always too much bass.
Yeah.
So it's just woofy and it's not cutting through.
Yeah.
By dint of which, not enough middle and not enough treble. So many guitar players are scared of treble. So it's not about volume, it's about frequency.
Go and check out the video that we did with, oh my God, not Josh.
Simon Jarrett.
Simon Jarrett's a good one. It's great treble. Come on.
Kirk Fletcher.
Kirk Fletcher. And the way that he dials that treble in,
Yeah.
it's like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, that's the key to getting heard.
Yeah,
So
so
make sure you've got to hear it, you know. There's no point in getting all the thing dialed in and then you can't hear what you're doing. So even just either getting it up or getting it angled back so that you can hear it makes a massive difference.
makes a massive difference, yeah. But I think we all leap for the volume knob thinking it's not loud or it's too loud or whatever. Actually, EQ, in terms of audibility, can make all the difference.
Yep.
So, yeah, dial your bass down a bit, dial your treble up a bit and see if that helps. And shock horror, turn the gain down a bit as well.
Yep.
No one wants to do it, but you will be able to hear yourself a bit better because what will happen is the transients of the notes, there'll be more front on that note. So give that a
Deja
go.
Voodoo says Bukovac is a chairman. Most definitely elevate those amps.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. What Dan said is right. There's some amps I just don't want to hear on a chair because it
Sure.
takes away the...
Yeah. I'm not going to put a 4x12 on a chair.
No. But then you don't need all that bass with a band, so... Yeah. Isaac Morris. Do you have any thoughts on Honduran versus African mahogany on junior type guitars?
No?
I don't. Only all the best ones I've played have been Honduran.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Which might be because they're old. Might be because they tend to be the old ones.
Okay. Interesting.
My Collings Junior is Honduran.
Wow, okay.
Yours almost certainly is.
My junior
Yeah.
is Honduran.
Almost
okay.
certainly, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought it was Brazilian.
Mahogany, not rosewood.
Oh, sorry. Mahogany. Okay. Right, gotcha. I'm back in the room.
It's so hard to generalise like that about
Yeah.
wood.
Just wood from different parts of a tree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it does seem to be the case that a lot of the great old Gibsons used Honduran.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't, I don't think, yeah, I probably would actually. I was going to say, I don't think I would use it to make the choice of the guitar, but I would imagine that in my Collings it will probably have a Honduran mahogany neck because that's what they use.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, don't know. It's so, it makes people viscerally angry, doesn't it? Wood conversations. Of course, let's say it, right? How much does the wood matter? This much. How much does where you put your fingers matter? That much.
Yeah.
Off the end of the screen down to the other end of the car park. That's what really matters. But if you've got that bit sorted,
then you're into detail.
Then this all of a sudden matters.
Yeah.
So then it's down to you. Mike 2203 fan. Hi Mike, nice to hear from you. He says, what do you think of the Marshall 50th anniversary 1-watt amps? I love them. Can I nominate Bill Nelson as the most underrated guitar hero? Bebop Deluxe Bill Nelson, I think that is, isn't it?
Yep. Great shout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 watts. Yeah, I think I played them all. I think I ended up making some videos actually. Actually, one with Bonamassa for Andertons, if I remember correctly.
Was that in the toilet? The bathroom?
No, that was for Guitarist.
All right.
This was for Andertons. Yeah, I remember really liking them. They did a bunch, didn't they? They did a JTM, maybe an 800. They did a bunch of different 1-watt commemorative amps. Yeah, there's a lot to love about a little amp cranked.
Oh man, absolutely. And they're loud.
Yeah. Well, I think they had a 0.1 watt setting if I'm remembering correctly.
Wicked.
Maybe not. Brian Garcia. Hello,
Hey,
Brian. My grandpa sat down to watch the telly show with me. He doesn't understand a lick of English, but he says he's a fan nonetheless.
Ah, brilliant.
After Friday's show, I'm getting a Sweetwater 12-inch Princeton, souping it up with a 2-Rock G12 65 type speaker. That would be really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, really interesting. It's such a great speaker, that 2-Rock speaker.
We'll have to try some different speakers in the Princeton. I'm really fascinated now. I think...
I want to try it through that. There's in that cab down there that's propping up our audio interface.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 Celestian Golds, 10-inch.
Oh, seriously? Okay,
It would be
brilliant.
great to hear that.
Okay.
It might be too much for the Princeton, but
What are they rated at, the golds?
50 watts a piece.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it would be interesting to hear it. Well, say hello to Grandpa, Brian.
Yeah.
And give him our best in whichever language he does speak. Your name's Garcia. Perhaps it's Spanish. Don't know. Anyway. Buenos dias, Grandpa. Non-aligned video says, how long until someone comes out with a variant named pedal? So does that mean Tube Screamer variant? Does that mean what you mean? There's a long underline. So you name the pedal, I don't know, Space Echo variant. Do you mean that? It's still a trademark, no matter how you modify it. So if that's what you mean, I think you'd probably still get pursued for doing that.
Yeah.
Daniel Ramirez says, I used a Princeton wet dry with a 57 Champ in band practice. In Dan's voice, oh my word. Epiphone 335.
Is that my voice?
Yeah. From a 98 Korea made, or Eastman T846. Right. A Korean made late 90s Epiphone 335 or an Eastman T486. Appreciate all your advice and entertainment. I'm going to say the Eastman.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Yeah. However good those Korean-made
Epis are, they were still a budget guitar, you know. But the Eastman is
a very it's a
sort of a step up from there as far as I'm aware. Not to slag off the Epis, of course. You know, one of my favourite guitars is my Casino, cheap Chinese-made Epiphone Casino, and I blooming love it.
Yeah,
so
wonderful.
Yeah, I don't mean to be disparaging about them, but the Eastman is a more serious guitar, I would say.
Oh, Magic Man says I have the 10-inch Celestian greenback, and it's fantastic. That's interesting.
I just can't get around putting a British speaker in an American amp.
Oh, okay.
Everything is wrong about that.
Okay, I like that. Very good.
Unless it's a blue, which is a different thing, but
that's interesting.
Nice Alnicos are Alnicos, aren't they? But we should damn well try it, Daniel.
Indeed.
Great show on Friday, says Brent Porter.
Oh, thanks, Brent.
I'm mostly reminded that Fender makes great amps large to small. It's so easy to get caught up in the new. Thoughts on Princeton's with a 12-inch speaker, e.g. the Chris Stapleton model?
They are fantastic. They change something that I really love, that I experience, that I really love, and have always loved about 10-inch speakers. And it's the quickness, the immediacy of it. Don't get me wrong, the 10-inch things, 12-inch thing with that circuit is wonderful, but there's something about the 10-inch speaker. Just the fact that it's a 10-inch speaker. I love that. But, man.
Depends what you want, doesn't it? I think one of my favourite smaller amps I can ever remember playing, and I've asked us if they'll loan us one, is the Morgan PR12.
Right. Which is the Princeton with a 12-inch speaker.
Well, you plug it in, it's got a ton of headroom. It's really loud, and it sounds unbelievable. Beautiful reverb. It's just an amazing sounding thing.
Right.
But to me, not much like a Princeton.
Okay.
So for
Joe's
me,
take on a Princeton.
It's the perfect upgrade because it does all the things I don't want the Princeton for. You know, it's bigger, it's rounder, it doesn't fart out as much. But then, of course, it's not the same, right?
Sure.
So it's different, and so we should make that show.
Do you remember when we played the Birmingham Guitar Show, and Jesse lent me his new
J10?
Was it the J10?
I think so, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it, the J10.
Yeah.
And isn't that a Princeton variant as well?
No, I have no idea.
But it was again the same. It loads of headroom, amazing thing. So, yeah. Okay.
Well, of course, I think it came up in the comments. It was Princeton's that Randall Smith was modding to make the first boogie.
Right.
So.
Wow. Okay.
That insane Mesa boogie started life as a modded Princeton.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Didn't he make it like turn a Princeton into a 100-watt combo?
I'm a bit fuzzy on that, but I guess so, yeah.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Just
Paul
awesome.
Matulovic. This is just for the Instagram post. No question. I'll be copying one of those sweet shirts. That post was hilarious. If you haven't seen the latest That Pedal Show Instagram post, please go there. Dan and I have got a green roll.
And we're going to use it.
To do, although I'm going to get a longer one because it's not wide enough. But yeah. Just in case anyone thinks That Pedal Show is terribly serious. Thanks, Paul. Jason Thompson. Cheers from Dallas, gents, he says. I'm about to refret my Strat. I fret pretty hard. I need to work on technique, I know. Any considerations for fret height? Thank you.
Oh, yeah. It's a... Man. So, we both use the 6105s when we refretted our blue and red. They are the same width, but a bit taller.
Yeah, they're a little bit wider than the vintage frets. Not much, though.
Right.
Tiny bit.
Right. And having that extra height on the fret, there's added mass in, with that extra bit of height, added mass in the neck and with the frets, and it makes a massive difference. Now, I fret really hard as well, and what I've found is the 6105s have let me get the guitar crowned a few times. So it's actually made the frets last a bit longer. But having the higher frets, depending on how you play, if you're fretting really hard with your left hand, with the higher frets, you're going to find intonation issues because you're going to pull things sharp. And with really low frets, the fretboard underneath will stop you doing that. But with the really high frets, they can sound amazing. But if you've got, if you're a bit angry with the left hand, you're going to find intonation issues.
Yeah. I don't know what your guitar sounds like or whether you think it could use... If you think it would be fine sounding a little bit brighter, you could look at stainless steel frets. Lots of fans of stainless steel frets out there. They're super hard. And if you are hard on frets, they'll last almost infinitely longer than nickel frets, nickel silver or whatever they're called. It does change the sound of the guitar fairly significantly. A little brighter, a bit more metallic has been our experience, which may not be a bad thing. If the guitar is on the, if it's a bit warm or dull sounding, then could be an interesting change. But just be aware that it will change, and that's true of any frets. Like Dan said, if you put big frets, we noticed it with Red. He first had 6100s, which are like the Stevie Ray Vaughan bass type frets, big frets, in it, and it just made Red way too brash and over the top. Yeah,
that's one thing that guitar doesn't need.
Yeah.
Is more aggressive top end frequencies, and so I had to take it back and get it refretted again, back to the 6105s, and then I was stunned at the difference the tonal changes, unbelievable.
Yeah.
So frets, they will do that.
Good luck.
Yep.
Serial Frost says Legends. I just acquired an AC15.
Very nice.
As I mentioned, thinking about the other day, now hunting for the right Princeton. True stereo, here I come. Nice.
Lovely.
They'll work great together.
Yep, beautifully.
Michael Swisher says, great show as usual. By the way, the Fender amp comparison was very good. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It's not that many people have the luxury of just taking those little amps and cranking them to 10, do they?
Yeah. No, we're very fortunate that we have noticed that when we were looking around and sort of, I was looking around seeing what else examples of it. We're very fortunate that we can do that here and actually turn the amps up to a level where lots of people will be using them live, because it's the difference between, like on the Princeton, the difference between 4 and 5 is colossal.
Yeah.
Absolutely colossal. And the character of the amp changes completely between 4 and 5.
Yeah. And if you stick that into your 2 notes or aux box, you hear about 20% of that, I would have thought.
Yeah.
It's not the same as cranking them.
Totally.
Yeah. Can sound awesome, but not the same. Good day from Kingscote, Kangaroo Island.
Kangaroo Island.
South Australia. Thanks so much for what you guys bring to us every week. Never miss a show. Hope all is good there. Says Neil Kenny.
Hey, thank you, Neil. Awesome.
Nice.
Love South Australia.
What is South Australia?
Well, Adelaide.
Yeah.
And
the bit over the other side?
No. You've got the East Coast, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria. You've got the West Coast, which is Perth, South Australia, where the Bight is. Yeah. Sort of down the bottom there.
So down there.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I've got very close friends in Adelaide, and I spoke to one of them this morning, actually, on the drive here.
Nice.
And Adelaide's wonderful.
I sat on a runway there once for 2 hours.
In Adelaide?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was nice.
Prince once did a gig in Adelaide, and he said it had some of the most beautiful women he'd ever seen. So there you go.
I'm glad that was his observation.
Well, yeah. Yeah. No, Adelaide's great.
Did his foot get crook and took her up?
Very good. Very good. But Kangaroo Island, up the coast, lots of big sharks off the coast of South Australia.
Ah, okay.
That's where you might go looking for some grey whites.
Yeah,
They have them down there.
they do. DJT, he says, fellow Brit 45 today.
Ah, happy birthday, mate.
Happy birthday, DJT, and thank you for your generosity. He says, thanks for a fab Q&A opportunities. I have some sweet amp options to date and curious how you'd pair or triple them up and with what pedals. Yeah, not seeing what the amps are, DJT, but the general response on that is that we've done videos where we've put a 5-watt Marshall Class 5 with 100-watt something else. And as long as you balance up the kind of gain characteristic and the output volume, you can pair anything.
Yeah. And the different character that you get from doing that is wonderful. From day one, it's something that we've always done because it's a wonderful way to find combinations that you love and, create your own sort of signature sound. It's just awesome.
Yeah. And then, you try strict wet dry, try dual mono, try stereo.
Yeah.
And they're all very different.
Yeah.
Good fun.
Great fun.
Good fun. David Braniff says, I got one. Broadcast dual. David was bemoaning that he couldn't get his hands on a broadcast after we put one in the show a few weeks ago.
Well done, mate.
He says, the missus got it for me for my birthday. Well, happy birthday, David. Of course, she doesn't know that yet.
Well done.
My birthday this year, Catherine's like, what do you want for your birthday? I'm like, I want a power amp for the hi-fi. She's like, okay, you go and get that. Some on eBay. Looking for a quad power amp. And then she says, oh, happy birthday. Did you get your thing? Yeah.
Okay. Give it to me, I'll wrap it up and give it to you for your birthday.
No,
you can't use it until your birthday.
No wrapping, none of that. My birthday isn't until October, he says. Well. P.S. Do the Vox thing.
Do the Vox thing?
Yeah. Comparing Vox amps, I guess.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We really should do the AC10 and AC15.
Yeah.
And I want to compare your AC10 with a new AC10.
Okay.
Because they are not the same thing.
No.
Not even nearly.
No. I recorded with it on the EP. It's the most amazing amplifier.
It's a bonkers amp.
Yeah.
You should do that. Jake Barry, this question is for Dan. If you were to be at the 2-year mark of guitar and you know scales, intervals, etc., what would you do practice-wise? I love Gilmour. Any tips?
Oh, okay. So, okay.
Jake, however much you think you know scales and intervals, you don't. Not after 2 years.
Okay. The most important thing is understanding how you want to sound and how you want to play. Now, that will change as your journey goes along, but having that gives you direction. Okay, so if you love Gilmour, I did this Phrase It Like Gilmour video a while ago, where I looked at his phrasing. So understanding notes and intervals and everything is fantastic. Until you really understand phrasing and how to give life to a phrase, that really is a key to musical vocabulary, the way you phrase, the way that you speak. If you just spoke everything in a monotone, if you listen to, if you want to get out of just playing endless scale type runs with the same 8th note, 16th note phrasing, understanding the rhythm of another guitar player's phrasing, drummers, sax players, keyboard players, the way you speak, you can take all these elements of phrasing and apply them to the way that you play. So that is hugely important. So if you really like Gilmour, understand the intervals and things that he uses, but his phrasing, like everything he uses is pentatonic. Everything. But the way that he phrases is unique and completely wonderful. So, yeah, knowing what you want to sound like, and that gives you direction, and then sort of get into their phrasing, get into what makes them harmonically interesting. I guess is a really good place to start.
And try and do some of it in context too, because I think a lot of guitar practice and tuition and theory can end up contextless.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think even if it seems simplistic, understanding why, I don't know, Here, There and Everywhere or any classic Beatles song has the harmony and melody that it does, if you really understand that, the joy of playing it is, it doesn't have to be all that.
Oh,
it doesn't
totally.
have to be anything complex.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, wow, I get this. And I didn't mean to be rude earlier when I said, there's still a long way to go. Dan, how long have you been playing guitar?
46 years.
How long have you been studying the guitar?
That's a great question. Like, really seriously.
Quarter of that time?
Yeah, not even that, really.
Do you know scales and intervals?
I have an understanding of scales and intervals, but how intimate that understanding is a sliding scale.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's still, I mean, even somebody very well versed in all of that stuff is still...
It's endless, right?
That's my point.
You can understand scales and intervals in a certain position, change key and change position, and then, guitar's a pattern instrument, right? And it's really easy once you understand a pattern that you start to use those patterns and you stop thinking about the intervals. Yeah. Actually, I'm going to do a video on this because I think this is amazing. Tom Quayle has released an app a while ago called Solo, where he looks at the relationship between intervals and chord changes and things. It's the most amazing app. It listens to what you play. It'll show you a chord, and it'll give you a song. It'll show you the chord, and then it'll tell you the intervals of the notes it wants you to play. It listens for you, it waits for you to play it before it moves on to the next chord.
Wow,
it's incredible.
Wow, that's
some
tech.
I'm gonna do a month of that. Right, every day of that for a month, and then do a before and after video. But it's really, really serious. Now, and even Tom will say, as amazing as his harmony is, and because he is, with what he does, he is the best in the world. He is astonishing, and yet he's still learning. He's still growing. So it's all that stuff is a journey.
Yeah. Good luck, Jake.
Yep. Good luck, Jake.
On the journey.
It's fantastic.
It is fantastic.
Have fun.
It is fantastic. Play loud as well. If you like Gilmour, play loud.
Yeah. Big part of it.
Yeah.
Understanding dynamics and headroom and volume. Massive.
Vibhas Patil, great to hear from you,
Vibhas.
Vibhas. He says, hello gents, I'm looking to get a new nut for my Strat and I would like one that helps with tuning stability and is low maintenance. What would you pick between Graphtec, Tusk or Bone?
Bone. It's not about, the material is important, but it's who's making your nut. That is everything. So the nuts on my guitar get made by Johnny Kincaid, and they're always astonishing. And I've made nuts before in the past thinking that I knew a thing or two about, angles and stuff. I don't. Johnny does. He's a genius.
You would if you'd done 1,000.
Well, sure, exactly.
And Johnny's done 1,000 in the last year. So.
1,000 Strats.
Well, probably not, but
and then 1,000 tellies, and so of course
that experience is what you pay for, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You don't pay for the 20 minutes it takes to do the job. You pay for the 40 years of having done it.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm sure Graphtec and Tusk nuts great. I mean, I think certainly Tusk comes on or Tusk-like material. Tusk and Graphtec, I think, are trademarks of Graphtec, whoever owns Graphtec,
okay.
I think. But what you're talking about is man-made boner-likes, if you like, but plastics, basically. And what's the other one? Micarta, is that what Gibson call it?
Okay, I thought that was a fretboard material. Is that? Or it might be. I don't know. No idea.
And yeah, there are various different human-made materials. So
And they can be great. Brass is really good. I had a strap with a brass nut once. It was awesome.
heathen. All decent vintage guitars,
Bone.
bone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably
You-
being overly sentimental about it.
If you get a really, really well cut bone nut, and you can just put a bit of, go with pencil, just draw in the slots, you're really good. You don't need any more than that. That's great.
Yeah. The Great Dell again. The Great Dell says, I was thinking about a deluxe reverb issue to go wet dry with my Orange TH30. Now I'm seriously considering a Princeton.
TH30, what a great amp.
My TH30 and my JCM 800 just don't work together.
Yeah.
What would you go with? Low mid gain with Strat, Esquire and Les Paul.
Wow. So that's really interesting. The TH30, really, really great amp. Something... I'd love to hear a deluxe reverb with that. I think that would be magic.
Depends how loud you play.
Yeah.
If you play like kind of band level and you want to hold on to the bigness, especially in the bottom end, and you've got a bunch of pedals, then I'd say deluxe every day of the week.
Yeah.
If you run them a little quieter and drivier, and maybe you don't use that many gain pedals, I'd say Princeton.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So
I think either with that amplifier will work, but yeah, considered volume, as demonstrated in the show, those amplifiers come alive at a certain point.
yeah,
And so depending on where you play, like I cannot wait to get the Princeton with the matches, get the Princeton to a point where it's, and do a wet dry thing.
it's going to be. I mean, I think the matchless is just going to kill the Princeton dead
We'll see.
in volume.
Oh yeah, but all I want the Princeton for is that quick. I could put pedals into it in a wet dry context, not all of the gain pedals. I just want to get it on its edge, and then to get that response.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
Let's try it. I think there's a video in there.
Yeah.
DJT tells us what his amps are. A load of old rubbish you've got here, DJT. 2 Rock Classic Reverb Signature
Oh heavens!
100, a Friedman BE 50
Boy, oh boy.
with a custom plexi channel, Matchless HC30R, Bad Cat, Hot Cat, a Tone King, Sky King, and Imperial, a Dr. Z Maz 18, and a 53 Fender Pro with a 15-inch Jensen. Now, with that,
My daughter would call that flexing.
with that last amp there, that is definitely flexing. My goodness me. That is an amp collection.
Yeah, amazing.
Goodness me. Just use the 2 Rock and throw all the others in the bin. That's what I would say. That was a joke.
I
by the
think-
way.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Because depending on how you play, the music that you're playing, each of those amps is an absolute classic.
Yeah.
And will, yeah, awesome.
Amazing. What an amazing collection of stuff. I've got a real hankering for a Fender amp with a 15-inch speaker.
Man, we've got to do a 15-inch show.
Damien from Kurt Mangan Strings, who's a good friend of ours, he's got the Vibroverb.
A real one.
Yeah, with a 15-inch. It's a lovely thing.
I've been looking for one to grab one and try it out.
Well, they reissued them, but they go for crazy money
They
because
do.
they never made that
Yeah,
many of
yeah,
them. So. Anthony James says, I just picked up a second-hand Eastman T386
Nice.
and it sounds glorious through my Pro Junior. Bought it based on your recommendations. Thanks so much.
Well done. Yeah,
Nice.
Great guitars.
That is a cool thing. Let's see what we got going on here then. The Aquaponic One says, Mick, British speakers in American amps. Weren't the classic Brit amps made off American amps? Yeah, they were, but they had some very significant differences. You're referring to the fact that the Marshall JTM 45 is a bass breaker, is a bassman, is a bassman. That's what it is, upside down. But there were some key differences, some really key differences, and of course the cabinets were completely different. 5 Watt World. Keith's on. Hello, Keith.
Hey, Keith.
He says, did we already cover Dan's recent investment in the hat company? Love it. Great look.
The best comment from last week's video, someone has said, Dan looks like he's about to introduce a park that's been 65 million years in the making. And then someone, oh man, it was genius. Hang on, let me see if I... Oh, no, hang on, I thought I took a snapshot of it. The comments from that comment on the video just kept going and going, and someone said, did I tell you about the first amp I made in Australia? It was a digital amp, but people could swear they could hear the valves. Oh, look, Mummy, listen, Mummy, I can hear the 12AX7s, I can hear the EL34s. It was genius, absolute genius. Yeah, very, very funny.
Patrick Dudnick says, which amp works best with the D&M drive instead of the other way round, i.e. what pedal works best with the amp?
Instead of, again, it depends on how you're running your D&M drive. You can, if we're running, we could make the D&M work great with the Princeton by looking at the boost side, turning the gain back, getting the top end so it cuts through. That into the Princeton will be magic. If we pull the Marshall out and just get it to a point where it's working on the drive side, and punch that into the Marshall, it's fantastic. I think a big part of the reason that we love D&M drive so much is that, Mick and I are very different players, but the two sides, they complement each other so well, and we've been able to make them work into a multitude of amplifiers, just depending on how you set the amplifier, just being sensitive to gain ranges and where you've got the treble set, and it's really flexible in that way. Yeah.
Buzz Crumhunger says, it doesn't matter how fast the car can go, the driver wins the race.
Ah, that's very good.
It used to be true in Formula 1. Now it's how fast the car can go. Because didn't they just basically make it impossible to overtake and do some stuff, and basically who's got the best car?
There was a big hoo-ha. There was a big hoo-ha on the weekend, wasn't there?
Was there?
Yeah.
What happened?
A car did this, and then another car went around. They went, "Arr!" And then someone won, and the other guy cried. And massive thing.
Crash?
There was a crash. He actually ended up in hospital.
Oh, no.
He's okay.
Yeah.
But
Who was he?
Driver.
Yeah. Driver A. Yeah. Motorbikes.
I want to say Jensen Button, but I know that can't be right.
No, you've been listening to his record all weekend. Jensen Bell, who posts on Instagram, is a very passionate collector of really lovely guitars and amps, and does really lovely Instagram posts and stuff. On the Jason Isbell telly vlog, he wrote, "I am not Jason Isbell." It's the Jensen Bell. Sorry, did make me laugh. Why you no love me, says McD57 in my telly. Says that. Mick needs to start wearing a hat, says Simon Park. No hat for me. The hat is Dan's.
Mick has got the best hair in the business. You wouldn't hide your bushel, hide your light under a bushel. Mick is the bushel.
Indeed. Vincent Ball says, F1 not your forte then. No, it's not, Vincent. We shouldn't really talk about things we don't like or know anything about.
Brian Mills says, Lewis Hamilton took Max Verstappen out on lap 1. Oh, okay. That's what happened. Yeah.
Oh, what a shame. I don't know.
We hope everyone's good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I'm not going to talk about sports anymore. I got branded a terrible racist last week for talking about sport. So we won't do that. But yes, we hope everyone's okay in Formula One.
Indeed.
And we shall show some empathy to the people who love it by saying it's very exciting.
Yes. Yep.
Am I insane, says Mark V. When I hear two well-matched distorted amps, it sounds clearer or cleaner. Heard it on Friday with Rabia's latest twin amp video.
It all depends on the amplifiers, but if your amps complement each other, then yeah, absolutely. You've got one amp can be filling out frequencies that the other amp doesn't have, and so you're getting more of a good thing. Yeah, absolutely can work like that. As long as the amps are in phase. So I used to run my AC30 and my J20, which is a derivative of a like a Tweed Deluxe with reverb 6L6 valves. Funnily enough, the J20 had more headroom than the AC30, but tonally, they sounded like amazing individually, but when you put them together, they just mesh in this really special way. And you know, if you looked at it on a spectrum where one would dip down, the other one would come up, and yeah, so totally you can that can work really, really well.
Yeah, and there's more, isn't there? There's more of everything. The fidelity ought to be greater if there's more.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. Simon Park says, "What about a top hat and a monocle for Mick?" I'd like that.
I can see that working for you.
I could rock that. Yeah. Or what do you do with the other eye though? Do you close it?
You squint, don't you?
Yeah, I like the monocle idea. I really do hate wearing glasses.
Because every now and then you can go, by Joe's, and open your eyes and the head will fall out. When you really like something, by Joe's, that sounds amazing!
You're not insane, Mark, anyway, just to make that clear. Dustin Thiessen from Canada says, "Hello, lads. Mixed my first show at Calgary, first show back, at Calgary Stampede for some 5,000 unmasked patrons. It was an amazing feeling. Frequencies I hadn't felt in many moons." Nice.
Well done. That's fantastic. Well done, mate.
Nice. And if you're mixing and you're a sound engineer, Dustin, thank you for the work you do and the shit you take off musicians.
Yep. Yep.
Apologies for the sweary. I don't think shit's a sweary, is it?
Dunno. I guess technically it is, but you know, in this day and age.
Yeah. Oh, well, too late now. Victor Gustafsson. Victor, thank you for your kindness, although I don't seem to see a super chat from you. We'll see if one comes through. David Rustad, again.
Hey, David.
Thank you so much. He says, in Sonoma this week. Oh, Sonoma County.
Where's Sonoma County?
You're going to drink a nice Pinot Noir or a Cabernet.
It's California?
That's the place to drink it.
Oh.
Yeah, man. That's good stuff.
I miss going to lovely places and drinking lovely wine. I really wanted to go to Italy for my birthday. That isn't going to happen now.
Why not?
Because we can't travel there.
It's not till September.
What, you reckon we'll be able to travel in September?
I don't know.
Okay.
Literally no idea.
But I wanted to go to that place where I saw my first Aperol Spritz, and I said, "What's that?" And you said, "Haven't you had an Aperol?" And I said, "No." And we sat down and proceeded to drink all the Aperol in Italy. It was awesome. Oh, man.
Anyway, he says, "I'm in Sonoma this week, reconnecting with my wife's little cousins, 12 and 14. I spent some time on a guitar with them in summer 2019, and the 2 years since then, I can't believe how their playing has moved on.
Wow.
How to get good? Be a kid." Yeah. Oh, there's a lot to be said for that.
Because you approach it differently, don't you? You just have fun with it, and yeah, it's wonderful.
It has been said that young brains are able to learn things more quickly. That may well be true. I don't know if we have any people versed in that kind of knowledge to confirm or deny. I think as an adult, you carry a lot of crap with you, and your ability to be lost and in something is impaired.
Look,
so whether a kid's brain is more able to soak things up, and one would assume that it is,
yeah,
but how much that differs when you get into adulthood. I think actually what happens with adults is you just carry so much crap with you about, oh my God, I'm not getting this, or, you know, oh, I really need to be able to do that hemi, demi, semi-quaver, melodic minor thing by the end of this lesson, otherwise, oh, I'm going to be the worst guitar. Kids just don't think about that stuff.
There's the other side of that is, it's like, I've got 2 kids, and they're great, but they're kids, and they leave their plates in a mess. They never put anything away. They're able to not have to deal with day-to-day things that take up so much time.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. But it's they can just have fun with it. They don't put the they can afford to be totally invested in something and completely focused.
That is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Whereas adults carry the bag of everything that's going on that day. Yeah. So, yeah, interesting. I wonder if there was a way. So, for example, Dan mentioned Italy earlier. Dan and I were lucky enough to go away and be co-hosts of a Guitar Breaks thing where
Can we do that again, please?
a bunch of people turn up in Italy and just immerse in guitar for a week.
And it's amazing how much you learn when you can immerse, right?
Because of everything you've just said.
There you go.
Because you just put everything else down.
Everything else is taken care of. Your food's taken care of. Everything else, just for that week, what you're focusing on and concentrating on is playing guitar.
See, there is a really important life lesson in that, and it doesn't matter whether you're talking about playing guitar or hanging and washing out. If you say that these 10 minutes are for hanging and washing out, and you hang that washing out like you've never hung washing out before, and it is your entire focus, not only will it be enjoyable, you'll do it well, and you won't be worrying about the next thing that you have to do. Now, that's a bit of a silly example, but it's so true. If you can give your mind to the thing that you're doing and put everything else down, the progress you make is colossal.
Do me a favour. Can you just say that again, but say that to Zach? Right? And I'm going to take him, I'm going to show him this part.
Well, right? The next problem is you have to want to do it.
Oh, there's a hurdle. Oh!
Yeah. But is it, David, sorry, we're talking around it a lot. Isn't it wonderful to see kids progress in something like music? It's just such a great thing.
Adam McMeekin says, neuroplasticity. Adult brains are more specialised but rigid.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that's you've given words to the generalisation, haven't you? So yeah. But I wonder how much of that is down to your brain being preoccupied with doing other stuff. Then you're going to get into arguments about saying, well, you don't use 80% of your brain anyway, so it doesn't really count. What's in the front of your brain matters.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it is actually in the front, but you know what I mean. What's in your mind?
Yep.
You're practicing the solo to slow dancing in a burning room, and you're worried about picking the kids up, what you're going to eat for dinner that night, and the fact that you haven't paid your credit card bill.
There you go.
No kid worries about that stuff.
No, there you go.
JTS. What's your favourite chord shape? And how do you write interesting progressions? Love the show.
Oh, thank you. My favourite, there are many. I love this one. So it's
been a hard day.
It's a major 7 with a 6/9. I love that. And then moving that around in minor third intervals. I love that.
You're simply the best. My favourite, I always call it a minor 7, but it's not. It's an 11, isn't it, Dan?
That's an 11. Minor 11 chord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really love that. And then the just standard sus. It's just a great chord that you can use everywhere. How do you write interesting progressions? One, you do what most of the best songs in history do, which is make them 1-4-5.
Mm-hmm.
Or all the other best songs in history, just use the major scale. Didn't you?
I'm gonna get this video, Demo. gonna tide's gonna take the money, and in you.
It's so many songs.
Yeah. Squeedum, squootin', squeeba, squoo. The other really important thing, if you want to learn interesting chord progressions, what's interesting to you might not be interesting to someone else. So when you hear something that's amazing, learn the mechanism behind that change. So
I call myself long.
you know, it could be something as simple as okay, if you're like, for example, jazz, 2/5 in a jazz thing, the minor 4 chord to the 1 chord is using loads of jazz chords, loads of jazz tunes, substitutions for that minor 4 chord. Okay, good example. It might be something really simple like the 1 chord, then putting. So when Mick went to 1, 2, 3, what you can do on the 3 chord, instead of the 3 chord being a minor chord, make it a dominant 7 chord. Back to the 4 chord, then a minor 4 chord. So all these chord functions and stuff, when you hear a really interesting song or you hear an interesting part and go, wow, what's that? Instead of just learning the song, work out the mechanism of what's going on there so that you can apply it to other things.
And the songs just start falling out of you, don't they?
They do.
Sitting in the morning sun.
So that's the dominant 7 chord on the 2 chord.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And they just start falling out. We were talking about this. So Dan's been listening to the Southeastern record by Jason Isbell
my goodness.
I'm a big fan of. And I said to him, how is it that C and G and A minor and F and D can sound so new
and fresh?
How is it? Those cowboy chords have been used in songs forever, and yet someone comes along and uses all the same chords in the same order.
Yeah.
And yet it sounds completely fresh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's the majesty
but that's
of rock.
well, it's pageantry of role. It's when you, but like that album, it's. I'm listening to those songs, but it's not the chords I'm remembering. I'm listening to someone just absolutely pour their heart out, and those chord changes are the vehicle through which he's doing that. Yeah, and sometimes those simple things are just, you don't want anything else. Most of the time, to be fair. Yeah. But when you hear something, you go, that's amazing. Work out what's going on there so that you can apply it in other things. Sorry, that was a long-winded way of...
But it's true. Simon Park, Pete Townsend, suspended chords. Yep.
Right.
Right, Christopher Rabbit. Sorry, I'm interested in this. He says, best chord progression, level 42, Something About You. Is that right?
No idea, I don't know the song. So modulation from E minor to E major.
Yep.
Yep.
There must be something about you. baby. So it's major.
Yeah, that's major. But as soon as it goes to the C, you're in E minor. E minor to E major.
That's it, because in a straight diatonic sense, it should be a minor there, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
But so it's
modulated from
modulated.
minor to major, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how many songs are that? But yeah, normally it would be. Yeah.
All that stuff.
It never gets any less interesting.
It's always wonderful.
I love me some secondary dominance, says says Jason Clute. Anyway.
Very, very good.
Meantime, Martin Greville Giddings.
James Hallwood.
MGG.
9.
He says, hi both. I got my new fuzz tee and 9.5 strings today. Really well packaged and quick delivery. Thank you. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Martin. You're very welcome.
Yeah.
It's all Catherine.
Hayden and Catherine doing a great job there. Amazing job. Catherine makes sure the store is good.
She does indeed.
With very serious application
Indeed.
of brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
I said to Catherine today, because I arrived this morning, Catherine was working. I had lunch. Catherine was working. Getting ready to do video. She can focus and concentrate like no one I've ever met. She's a machine.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes. That is true. David Rustad. Mick, the 14-year-old, asked, how does Stevie Ray get that massive sound? The questions are truly eternal for all generations. They are. Hopefully there's enough videos on the internet to explain it now, David, which there wasn't in 1986. You're like, what is that sound?
Yeah. Astonishing.
David Daly, my two mollycoddled SJB audio ant combos both died recently. I'm back to a Blackstar HT5. Have you ever just abandoned an amp because it's a pain in the arse?
Yes. Indeed.
Sorry to hear that. I don't know, if it's a recurring fault and you know what it is, maybe you can get it modded to the point where it won't break anymore. So what, my boogies always used to blow mains fuses, I don't know, something on the startup, and rectifier tubes. Yeah. So I just stopped using the rectifier tubes because it was always the rectifier tube.
Yep.
Matchnesses are buggers for that as well. Sorry for the swearing.
Yeah.
At least I didn't say.
Well, I had a 2-rock Jet.
Yeah.
That I blew, I think, 4 or 5 output transformers in it and just couldn't. This is a long time ago.
Pre the current administration,
exactly.
They had some OT problems, didn't they?
Yeah. And I just couldn't. I had to say goodbye to that one.
That said, though, having used valve amps in anger for over 30 years, the number of failures are minimal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I don't think I've ever actually had one fail. It's always been a tube or a fuse.
Right. Well, but the only failure I've had is that output transformer. Apart from, I've had, phase inverter valves go and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I could count the number of times that the amp has let me down on one hand.
Whose hand, though? Peter Urban, sending a massive thanks. I started learning guitar 3 years ago from scratch. I learned most of what I know from TPS. Now running massive, wet, dry man cave. Awesome, Peter.
Yes, Peter.
That is cool.
Well done, bud. We like you.
Nina Head DJ, Sob Rock. I tried to listen. He's so far lost me on Why You No Love Me. Anyway, that title, horrible. And I love Mayo too. Yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, it's obviously a message, isn't it? He's probably some love interest is the thing they've said to one another. Maybe, unless it's a thing that kids say to one another, is it on Tickgram or whatever? Tick snatch. What is it called? What is it? TikTok and Snapchat. No, TikTok and... This is like when you stand there and laugh at the lava coming down the hill, isn't it? Instead of running away from it. Jeff Harper. Jeff Harper, we haven't even been drinking it. It's hot. That's what it is.
Oh my God.
Jeff Harper says, I've got a TC Mojo and a Joyo Pegasus clone and a Tube Screamer. What other drives would you suggest for a more full frequency drive, says Jeff.
Oh my God.
So he's got a TC Mojo, a clone type and a Tube Screamer. So yeah, okay, so the clone, don't know the I thought the Mojo was pretty full frequency actually, but he's got a clone and a Tube Screamer. We would say a Boss BD2 Blues driver, Wazza.
Very good.
Would be a really good addition to your arsenal. Anything that's Marshall Blues Breaker, which is a different thing, derived, would be really cool. What else do we like? Full Tone OCD is a great sound in fuller range, although it does have. See what I did there? Fuller range. It does have a bit of a mid hump, to be fair. What else do we really love for that job?
King of Tone and derivatives thereof.
Yeah. I'll totally look at a BD2 Blues Driver Wazza.
Also, the BB preamp
Yeah.
is great.
From Exotic.
Yep.
Actually, if you've got a bit more cash, Jackson Audio Golden Boy.
Ah, there you go.
There you go.
Really
Boom.
good.
Boom. Paul Matulovic. Okay, I lied. One question. Have you ever played... Well, he says, y'all ever played, but I can't say that given that I'm not from the South. Y'all ever played a Greer Chieftain?
Greer Chieftain, the small one.
I guess that's an amp, is it?
Yeah.
I apologise for my awful accent.
Not bad.
Yeah. I've been watching a thing with Billy Bob Thornton in it just recently.
Man, there's a Billy Bob Thornton film called Sling Blade. It's so powerful.
I'm just trying to put a musical accompaniment to your story.
Okay. That's the end of my story. I wasn't going to take it any further than that.
Greer Chieftain. I haven't played a Greer Chieftain.
No. If you're talking about the small Greer amplifier, I heard one at the last NAMM we went to, and it was wonderful. And also, Phil X uses one in conjunction with his Phil X signature amplifier.
Friedman, yeah.
From Friedman. And it's a wonderful thing. I mean, look, the Greer stuff is just so good.
It is.
He's amazing. Nick Greer, legend, absolute legend.
Legend.
Yep.
John Q says, Mick and Dan, hello from Hope, Indiana. Love the show for all you do. I just recently acquired a Harmonious Monk, and wow, I am emotionally moved
Oh, bless you.
by
Thank
what I can get out of it. It and my Timmy will always be on my board.
Ah,
Nice.
Thank you, mate. That's wonderful.
Thanks for buying one, John. Makes a big deal. It's a big deal to us that people buy them and like them.
Yeah.
And we're really glad that you do. It's a lot of love went into that pedal.
Sure did. And like, obviously we're very close to Joey, but we didn't know that I certainly didn't know that he'd been sent. I thought he might have been being sent one, but the guys at Jam sent us that message that Joey
Yeah, that's a big
said,
deal.
and that was a really big deal, that he loves the Harmonious Monk as well. So, yeah, it's been such an amazing response to that pedal. We're hugely, hugely grateful. And grateful to the guys at Jam for just being the most awesome guys in the world. But it said, yeah, let's do this. And they put so much into getting it right for us.
Yeah.
You know, Unreal.
Top humans.
Yeah, really, really wonderful.
Chad Blake, we did have your question earlier. We did get to you in the end, Chad. Thank you. Matt Presley, dang it, you released a new shirt, he says. I've got to complete the collection. Thanks for all the great videos. Matt, thanks so much. Yeah,
Thanks,
the
Matt.
new Cali Strip, we've called it, shirt. We've been on a run of new shirts lately.
Oh, that's been
got
wonderful.
Some nice new things happening.
Yeah, really good.
One of my favourite pop artist producers, says Airfire. John Bellon says, fans don't know what they want until 10 years after it happened. Yeah, cite Sergeant Pepper's thoughts in comparison to Sob Rock. Yeah, it is true, isn't it?
Very true.
It is true.
Well, I was watching this documentary. It was, I don't know how it got there, but it got to David Bowie doing, what's that track, Man from Mars?
Yeah, that one.
That one.
Ground Control to Major Tom. Life on Mars.
Life on Mars at Glastonbury, right? And everyone remembers it as this unbelievable earth-shattering event. But then they played it live, right? They played the clip of him doing it at Glastonbury. It was at sunrise. Hardly anyone was up, and then he was there playing, and he finished it, and you hear like 3 people clapping, you know. Yet everyone remembers it as this totally a world-changing thing. You know?
Once it gets used in The Simpsons and 4 toilet paper commercials, then everyone remembers it, right?
Yeah.
No, that is true. That is true. And of course, you want different things out of your favourite artists, don't you? Like, I know I've got artists who I feel deep love for, and then they'll release something, and I'll be like, oh, I didn't want that. I wanted version 2 of that thing you released 5 years ago.
Yeah, to be fair, I got the same thing with Crowded House at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the last album, but they're still, hankering for.
But they have to
certain
progress,
sound.
don't they? They have to move on
absolutely.
and do the thing that is artistically right for them to do. So, yeah, totally agreed, Airfire. Andrew Dibble, hello from SC. Sonoma County?
Space Camp.
Southern California? What are your thoughts on professional refins? My 2000 American Vintage reissue 52 Telly seems to have a thick finish. Would you go for a pro refinish, or is this dangerous?
It's a really good question. I know many people who've had guitars refinished and very, very pleased with the results. I think it's got to be worth it to you. If you're... I know that when my dear friend who's been on the show, Dave Gregory, has had a couple of guitars refinished, but these have been old, like vintage instruments that have been in a bad condition, that have been fixed up and then refinished by, like a world-class guy that would get all the paint right. In that circumstance, it's awesome. And I mean, I don't know.
South Carolina? Do you like the guitar? Does it sound a way that you think would benefit from a refinish? So, is there something specific that's lacking? I mean, it would be the last thing to do, because it might be that a pot change or pickup change, but it's really tough, because you can start getting into the idiocy that I got into with my Strat, where I don't know whether it's Arthur or Martha, if I'm honest.
Salt Lake City.
Yeah. SC.
Salt Lake City.
Okay. Yeah. And then it becomes... So it's a tough one. But yeah, I mean, for sure, a really nice thin skin nitro refin is never going to be a bad thing, or I can't imagine it's going to be a bad thing if somebody good does it. But Maybe how bonded are you with the guitar? If
Yeah.
you're really bonded with it, don't change it, because you'll bond with it less. If you're not bonded with it, move it on. The American vintage reissues are getting really good money at the moment. You could move it on and play a few others, custom shop or something, or a different American vintage reissue. Basically, are you noticing any lack in the guitar? And if the answer to that question is well, not really, then don't worry.
I had my old Strat Plus, right? And I had this guitar when I was playing with Max back in the 90s. And it was a great guitar, right? But then for whatever reason, the bass player I was working with, very, very dear friend of mine, says, oh, what we should do is remove all the finish from it and just tongue oil the whole thing. And I thought, yeah, awesome.
You took advice from a bass player.
I
on
did.
Your guitar's finish.
I did. And it was astonishing how much the guitar changed tonally.
Yeah.
All the quickness in the guitar was gone.
Yeah.
And it was spongy.
Spongy, yeah.
You know, like it has a massive bearing on the way the guitar sounds.
Ainsley Lister was telling me that he's got a really nice now Aztec Gold 70 Strat. It's a really great Strat. It's super light. It sounds unbelievably good. He was saying it had been through about 6 refins over its life, just one after the other.
Really?
And the guitar lost considerable weight after all the paint had been stripped off.
Yeah, right.
I was quite surprised by that.
Amazing.
Yeah, sorry we can't be much more useful, Andrew, with the answer to that question. It's very hard to say. Stephen King, likewise, he says, I'm looking to get my first valve amp. Is vintage a bad idea? What are your thoughts on Supro? I love Tremolo. Should I prioritise this or get it from a pedal or both?
If you love tremolo, you have to experience proper valve tremolo.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Supros are really great.
Supro's cool.
All the Fender stuff, the tremolo's awesome in them.
So check out the video we did this week on the Deluxe Reverb reissue and Princeton Reverb reissue. Vox AC15 for your first valve amp. It's got reverb and tremolo,
and
sounds
magic.
banging, and it's affordable. That's the way I would go personally.
Totally. Proper spring reverb.
Yeah.
It's just magic.
Yeah, good luck with that. Vintage isn't a bad idea if you've got someone who you trust. Because usually with a vintage amp, it will develop an issue or two, or if it's a good price to begin with, chances are it may need a little bit of work doing. And that's all totally doable. You know, one of the great things about vintage amps is they are relatively easy to work on.
Yep.
So if you know somebody and you trust them and they're willing to do it, then vintage is a great idea, actually, because
it'll hold its prop value.
Hold its value, sounds amazing, and is cool to boot.
Yep.
So why not?
Yep.
But just be prepared that buying a vintage amp is like buying a vintage anything. It comes with some
inferred
warning issues. Yeah. For the tip jar, says John Newquist. Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Hello from Petaluma. Enjoy the week, friends. Thanks to you, John.
Why do I know Petaluma?
It's where Boogie are.
Oh, right.
Sorry.
Okay, great.
Boogie. You don't have to say boogie. You have to say boogie.
Boogie.
Yeah. That's probably what you would say anyway, isn't it?
Mesa Boogie.
Boogie.
Is that all right?
Mesa.
Oh, God. Mesa Boogie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Marcus Stowe. I'm looking for an upgrade to my little DV Mark Little Jazz. I'm thinking Fender Bassbreaker 15,
Nice.
Boss Next Tone Stage, Fender Pro Junior or Princeton Reverb, which is a long shout because of the price. What are your thoughts?
It all depends on what you want to get from the amplifier.
Exactly that. What do you want?
Yeah. They're all good shouts, really good for different things. The DV amps are great. I was super impressed. I helped Greg Howe to put a board together, and he's got a signature amp, and it sounds amazing. So they make really great stuff. But if you're upgrading, it's what you're upgrading. What are you wanting the amp to do that your current amp isn't doing? If you just want a bigger, louder platform, the Next Tones are really good. If you're looking for a bit more vintage vibe, hard to get past the Princeton. It's just deciding on what it is that you want the amp to do and then looking for the strengths in the amplifier you're going to.
Yeah. It's tough because you need to get out and try some things if you possibly can. And again, watching amp demos online is all very good, but once somebody's recorded it and made all the decisions that they're going to make about recording it, it's obviously it's often a very different experience hearing it in real life. Yeah, tough one, that.
Tough one.
Yeah.
Again, check out the AC15 because that's around there. Super flexible, great sounding amplifier. But that would be if you need something with a bit of headroom, 15 watts. But it does have a bit of headroom and awesome with pedals.
Buzz Crumhunger says it sounds like David Bowie when you say boogie. It's because he's English, I reckon. Sorry, was English.
David
Bowie. George Clinton says David Bowie. I was down south and I heard some funk. It was cool. I was down south and I heard some funk. David Bowie. But can you imagine Bowie in your funk? No, P-Funk. Make my funk a P-Funk. I want my funk. No better lesson in the one. No better lesson in the one. Lots of comment on Sob Rock. Mike Spore says SoCal is Southern Cali. SC is South Carolina. We did get there in the end. Thank you, Mike.
Space Camp wasn't right.
Well, depends how much acid you've done, I guess. Matt Gilbert says John will always make me sob. Sorry, Mick. It does. It just proves, doesn't it? We're all talking about him. Yeah. Anyway, right. Hello from California, says Denis Kalashnikov. No, there's a name. Dan, is in Timeline still king of delay pedals? You chose the Empress Echo System.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you decide to go with the Future Factory in your current pedal board? Are there any specific reasons?
Yes, because delay has become less of a... When I was using the Timeline, there were certain sounds on that I used to record albums with Tin Spirits, and they became really integral to those sounds. I'm using less of those things now, and what I found was all I really needed was an epic sounding delay that had EQ control over the repeats. The more I've got into things like Echo Rex and tape delay, it's having complete control over the filters on the repeats. And what I found with the Future Factory was the combination of the incredible tonal control, filtering control of the repeats, the wonderful modulation sounds, having two discrete delays in there that you can have in series or parallel, but there's a sound to the Future Factory.
And the overdrive on one of the delay lines.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah. So, it's not... The Echo System I found had this amazing tonal quality to it and incredible flexibility with all those different delay sounds on tap. And you can do updates and you'll get more of them. The Future Factory is more WYSIWYG, but everything, I couldn't get a bad sound out of it. There was nothing unusable. I just, I instantly connected with it. Now, it won't do the things, like if Tin Spirits got back together tomorrow and had to go and do a gig, I'd have to put the timeline back on the board.
Yeah, I mean, he's talking about the Echo System. Echo System.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I was doing that sort of stuff, I'd get the Echo System and use that.
Yeah.
But the Future Factory, because I'm doing less of that stuff, I just need a simpler delay with that sort of, control. So, yeah.
Chris Davis. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Or Davies. Davies, apologies if I pronounced that wrong, Chris. He says, gents, you played a huge part in reigniting my love for guitar last year.
Oh, wow.
Hadn't played for 5 years, then stumbled on TPS. The rest is history. Have since built a G3 control board as a small token of appreciation. Well, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. That's amazing. Thank you.
Anyone enjoying guitar is good by us.
Yeah. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
You love me. Thomas Schlack says, V4 Duchess board build, ? So far, a tube screamer and a full drive. Summit Wobbly. Jam pedals Ripley 4.
Ah, so good.
So you've got chorus and phaser.
So good.
Or chorus and phaser together, should you so desire. Nice reverb.
Right.
And nice delay. And I would, in the interest of costs, go for the Source Audio Collider.
Yep.
Both reverb and delay very nicely indeed in one box. That would be my board build for the V4 Duchess.
That sounds like an
And
absolute
obviously
cracking thing.
some sort of highly inappropriate fuzz device, such as a fuzz face.
Yeah. I would concur with everything that Mick has said. I would probably go with something big muffy. I think that would work great with that. Very cool. Very
Nice. Sebastian Stegman from Daneland says, what are your thoughts on vintage vibrochamps or similar? It's the best tremolo in the world, in my opinion. I would love to see an Epiphone. I would love to see an episode on vibrochamps. Love the show.
I don't know them.
No, never played one. I think that might have been what Joe Bonamassa was playing in the toilet that day.
Oh, really?
I think so. By the way, I'm calling it Daneland because that's what Pete Honore used to call it when people would leave comments on the Andertons channel, literally saying, where does Danish Pete come from? Is it Daneland?
Okay. Wow.
True story. So I wasn't being horrible. I was just quoting Danish Pete. Yeah, it would be great to do Vibrochamp, wouldn't it? I mean, there's such a rich, deep and varied history there with Fender amps that every time you go, oh, this is cool, then 8 other things.
There's a multitude of Fender amps I'm sure that I've got no idea even exists.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know about that. I keep finding out about these amazing amplifiers.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yep. Well, there was a Harvard.
I know about the Harvard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a Yale.
The Cambridge. Yeah, right.
Or a Boston Community College.
There's something special about the Harvard. I can't quite remember what it was. There's something power-wise. Anyway, I'll have a look. But yeah,
Don't know.
Cool.
Love the show, says Andy Richmond. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks for all you do. Have you had any experience with Nash guitars?
Ah, yeah. Can I tell? I'll tell my Well, I had put it together a board for Noel Gallagher, and he invited me down to a gig that he was playing in Brixton, and went and hung out before the show. And he said, "Oh, come and have a play of my rig," because he had, really a wonderful multitude of amplifiers, including the bass breaker. Actually, it's part of it, cranked.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, try this." And Nash had sent him. He had a couple of them he really liked.
Yeah.
And I've played a few of them before, and they've sounded great. And that rig, man alive, it was epic.
I had an Esquire version, an E, I think he calls it. I had dinner with him one night, actually.
Right.
Yeah, what a fantastically interesting guy.
Really?
Yeah.
That pleases.
Bill Nash, his name is.
I'm really pleased because every time I've played one of his guitars, I've gone, "Oh, this is vibey."
Yeah, he does it right.
Really
does
cool.
it all right. Yeah, really, really cool guitars. Really cool guitars. Dear Dan, says John W. Doyle. He says, I picked up a Gig Rig MIDI 8. It switches great, but there's no MIDI from the output. What can I do?
If you get in touch with support at the Gig Rig, and we will go through it with you and we'll work it out.
There you go.
Yep.
MIDI 8. How cool.
Wow, that's old.
It is.
That's my favourite John Mayer song.
Welcome to the real world, she said to me, condescending me. Nice chords in that.
Yeah.
Simon Hosford. Greetings from Melbourne, Mick and Dan. No question this week, just saying hi.
Oh, cheers, bud.
Thank you, Simon.
Yeah. Hope you're all good down there.
Yeah.
I think Melbourne's back in lockdown, I believe.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
They were doing so well as well.
They were doing great. But yeah.
Balls.
Hope you're awesome, mate.
Connor Larkin. I'm debuting.
Larkin Poe. Have you heard them?
Yeah.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, I love her slide playing. I can't remember her name. She's great. Anyway,
They were in all the guitar mags just recently, weren't they?
are they? Okay. Yeah, very cool.
Connor Larkin says, I'm debuting my originals band in Detroit this weekend.
Oh, awesome.
I'll be running a Volante in stereo with various drives and fuzzes. Thanks for many years of great info that allowed me this glorious tone.
Well done, mate.
Nice one,
Enjoy
Connor.
it.
Wish you well for
Yeah.
the gigs. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Detroit. Remember when we debuted in Detroit?
Rock City.
Motor City.
Isn't it Detroit Rock City? Isn't that Kiss?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Is it?
pretty sure it is.
God, this is bad. Yeah. It's a film and a song. by
There we go.
Kiss.
There we go.
Is it called Motor City as well?
Yeah.
Because they built all the cars there?
There's a... Oh, man. We were in Italy and my kids found this video.
Clearly never a Kiss fan. Apologies.
Some of the early stuff.
The solo in
Torpedo
Crazy
Girl
Nights is
and-
good.
Yeah, they had some awesome tunes. My kids found this video about Welcome to Detroit, and it was just so funny. Yeah. Anyway, what was where were we?
We were at Benji Driscoll.
Okay.
Hello, Benji. He says, hi, chaps. I love the Harmonious Monk. Thank
Ah,
you for
thanks,
buying it, Benji. He says, Dan, have you had the opportunity to try the Lazy J10? I've spoken to Jesse a few times and will be meeting him to have a go on some of his amps and hopefully to buy one.
So yes, when we played at Birmingham, I paired a Laser J10 with the Matchless, and it was absolutely spectacular. I would love to get one. Obviously, Jesse's stuff is amazing. I have a J20. Jesse's stuff is awesome. We're going to have him on the show because he's like a tweed amp expert. He's an amazing guy.
A mine of information.
Unreal. I've just got to, I think, be in the right place financially to get a J10 because they're really expensive. If we're going to get the Princeton, I think they're going to put the J10 back a bit. But yeah, I have played them and they are
I think you
wonderful,
should play
wonderful
the
amplifiers.
hardwired Princeton before we make a
Oh, really?
a choice on that.
Okay.
Because they're not that crazy different in price.
Really?
They're I mean, they're a lot more, but they're not like insane more. They're not kidney more.
Okay.
Mark Alexander, hello Mark. He says, in my humble opinion, the physiological impact of volume on the player's body is just as or more effective than tone. Hence the need for an amp and the volume sweet spot. Yeah, that sort of comes out of what we were saying earlier about that sort of range of volume being broadly similar, and actually it's how it feels and reacts is probably the more important thing. I totally agree with you, Mark.
That's why going to experience a band is so different than putting them on the stereo in the car. It's like when you're that feeling and experience of volume is just, man alive. It's what brought us to this place in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it's a human experience, isn't
Yep.
it? It's not just EQ and gain and what you can see on a scope. It's much more than that. I agree with you. I totally agree with you, Mark. Alan Gorham, hello, Alan. I hope the new edition is settling in well. I got a new cat recently.
New what?
Cat.
You serious?
Alan Gorham got a new cat recently.
Oh, I thought you said you got a new cat. I'm like,
No.
what? Oh, okay, Alan. Okay, glad to hear it, Alan. That's great.
He says, my don't break the bank for a wet dry second amp question from 2 weeks ago. The Princeton to go with my modded Hot Rod Deluxe. When I do, the chain is packed QMX10 to the amp. Will I need 2 QMX6s and a wetter box to keep it simple? So you're saying you've got QMX10, it's full.
Right.
In order to get a wet dry going, should you move to 2 QMX6s? And no,
I hear you.
Dan may have a different view on this. My view is no. Stick with the QMX10, simplify it down a little bit. So even if you you can add a humdinger in one of the loops of your QMX10 to make the wet-dry split. If you don't want to lose any of your pedals, just put it after the pedal where you want to do the split.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say it's your last overdrive pedal. Put the wetter box in the same loop as the last overdrive pedal, and you go out of, let's say it's in loop 5, you go out of loop 5 into your OD pedal, out of the OD pedal into the into the humdinger. One side will go out to your dry, and the other side will come back into the QMX to go through everything else for your wet side.
And you leave that foot switch, you leave that loop on, and you just manually turn on and off that overdrive pedal.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a good way to do it.
But in addition to that, if you're getting going with wet dry, I would say strip it right back to super simple. Try one overdrive pedal and a delay, or one overdrive pedal and modulation and delay. So you really get the feel of what's happening. Because the danger is if you just leap in with all that gear, it could be completely overwhelming to be dealing with 10 pedals and wet dry for the first time.
Yeah, sure.
And it's not like you don't have to keep it like that forever. Or indeed, you could just leave it all wide in and not turn the other pedals on. Might be the easier way to do it. But you can just... I guess my point is, by keeping it simple, you really learn what's happening. And there's a lot of fun in there, just going slow to begin with, keeping it simple and just enjoying that sound.
Yeah.
And then adding stuff as time goes on.
It's a magic thing. Yeah, that's great, mate.
Really cool. Really cool. Okay, I think that's us. We've gone over time considerably tonight.
Oh, wow. It's nearly 7:45.
Yep.
Wow.
Too much guffing on, Dan. That's our problem. TBY EDR says Dan looks so concerned when he has to recommend an amp.
Oh, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
And it's a really big deal.
Yeah, good. Good. Yeah, sorry, I'm just checking everything is okay. Steve Cropper, says David Rundle about the Harvard. Apparently Steve Cropper was a big Harvard user.
That's it, Steve Cropper. There you go.
Yeah, if you're going to do that.
Go right in the middle.
There you go.
Yep.
Headphone gigs would be strange, says Music Man. They should be illegal.
I could do a bit of Steve Cropper, you know. If I just work on this a bit.
Coming to you on a dusty road.
Man, you're talking about your look at the tracks they played on. Man, look at the Steve Cropper stuff. Blinking heck.
Blinking heck. Okay, people, thank you so much for being with us. This Friday show is we run through all the T-shaped things in this building, including this Danish Pete Purple Squire.
Which was so impressive. There you go.
This Fender Mexican Telecaster with bare knuckle bladed bridge pickup. This G&L ASAT Special.
Very good.
And lots of other things.
Yep.
So we'll see you Friday. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a fantastic week. And yeah, see you on Friday.
Bonjour.
Bye.